Hello and welcome to the Ask Aviator podcast. I believe this is episode number 37 or 38. I don't even know anymore. It's coming to get 36. Episode 36. What the heck, man? Too cool. It has been an incredible journey here. 36 episodes over the space of just under a year. Apparently that's not that bad because one of my mentors was talking about how they've been doing this podcast for a couple of years, and he said, we really should do it more. I'm like, man, we've only did 36 episodes, or at that point, 30 episodes in the last year. And he's like, man, I've done 18. And I was like, oh, wow. And we have a good number of followers, and it's great to have a couple thousand listeners out there, but they have like 300,000. I'm like, dude, why aren't you doing podcasts every day? Like, goodness gracious. But we're going to try to keep this ball rolling, keep things going on, answering as many of your questions as we can about paramotoring, about a lot of other shenanigans. Very excited for all of the guests we have tonight. Just to say hello to Jeff and Shell Stang. Great to see you guys. Chris G. Holy hell, that's a large bottle of alcohol. You know what's interesting is it's actually only 1.75 liters. Thank you very much to Michael Bassford for the wonderful Christmas gift. It has made its way through several podcasts. But we've got a lot of folks in here. We got Matthew Pesci, Peter Ciesla, Slow Days, Paramotor Crazy. Great to see you. PPG Grandpa, Life Adventures. Everybody, thank you for being a part of this show. I'm going to introduce my first guest, kind of walk you guys through who he is, why he's here. I teased it in the pre-show. If you guys don't watch the pre-show, you're missing out. But his name's Nathan. Now, Nathan has been flying for a couple years. He introduced this concept that flying and one-wheeling are the two things that have changed his life the most, aside from his children. And I think that's a really cool way of putting it. Like, there's a lot of truth to that in some of our lives. Like, I love my freaking one wheels. I just rode another probably 3 or 4 miles today. It's a wonderful experience. And flying obviously has been the number one thing that has changed my life, aside from my wife and children. So let's get Nathan in here. I think he's fetching himself a beverage.
Yeah, my other one was already getting a little empty.
Getting a little empty? All right.
Do we do the...
Oh, yeah, you can show it off. It's totally acceptable. I have a super gracious, I'm always like, thank you so much to this person who got me that. Because basically, I don't go to the liquor store anymore. We drink here once a week. It's not like it's a common theme. It's
right.
But all right. So, Nathan, you trained at Paracosta.
Yes.
Can you hear him okay, Dan? Try to eat the microphone.
All right.
Oh, wow.
Does that sound better?
You're
What if I get my sexy voice on?
All right. So, you trained at Paracosta how long ago? 2 years ago?
Yeah. Just a little under.
Okay. So, I know you're flying a Scout and a Spider, right?
Yep.
Still have that red, white, and blue Spider?
I do.
All right. So Nathan asked to come. We didn't ask to come on the show, but he kind of was like, hey, so can you help promote what we're doing? And I was like, why don't you come on the show? In case you guys haven't noticed, we're desperate for guests because, if I have to sit here for an hour and a half and just talk by myself, it is really boring. Like, it's really boring. So, all right. So you decided to put together an event based on an existing event. Explain what it's about.
So, and that actually came together because of the dates. So when I was trying to think of the dates for this event, I wanted it to be around spring break so that we could get as many of the one-wheel community that, are college-age students. They're going to be getting out of their, spring break classes. And my buddy Matty Rowan actually brought up, he's like, well, the dates that you're looking at are like the weekend after Palm Bay. He's like, I don't think you're going to be able to have people come to Palm Bay and then come back for yours.
Right.
So that's kind of how it started, where I went down and started talking with Don and Eric to see if we could kind of bring the Palm Bay fly-in to another level. Yeah.
I'm excited. So first off, I am probably the least crazy person on a one-wheel you'll ever meet. I'm not that guy. I kind of have a belief that if you go super cautiously, you won't die. I mean,
I can talk about the other side of that too.
Dude, our first day we got these. So I think 4 of the instructors got one wheels, and the first day 2 of them went to the hospital. All right, so if you don't respect it, it's like anything else. But I've always been that way. Like I do things that look crazy because I've worked very slowly up to them, and I have no interest in hurting myself. So I'm excited to go watch the one wheel races. I will not be participating.
Yeah, we're excited. We were actually down there just last weekend doing some trying to shoot some promo videos, which did not go well because apparently you have to have a certain type of SD card so your files don't get corrupted. And I got back home. It was 9 hours of driving to get down there to do it. I get back home that night. It's like 10 o'clock, and I get on the computer to try to get them set up. I was going to send them to one of the guys from the Tampa float crew so he could do a promo video. And I go to open it, and it said files corrupted.
Oh, my goodness.
So, yeah, we're going to try to plan another trip back down. We're getting really close on the promo video for the actual tracks and stuff, but we're going to have it out at least 2 weeks before so that everybody can kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like.
So my buddies in the whole fat tire bush plane community got into One Wheels a couple years ago, and they have the stole drags in the it's in a high desert, what's it called? Dry lake.
Okay.
Out in Nevada, and it's Dead Cow Lake bed, and they got blown out this year. I mean, it was blowing 60 miles an hour. So that instead of having stole drags with the airplanes, they had one-wheel stole drags. And the people who like were busting their butt, it was hilarious. And then they built like this track that was just planks of wood over logs, and you had to like, it looked ridiculous. And I'm like, I would die.
We're going to have some of that.
So I'm excited to watch people fall. Johnson Q, you'd better be there. I'm counting on you. But we're going to have a great time, not just with the one wheels, but with an existing fly-in.
Yeah, and that's actually so we've talked with several people in the community. I don't know if you know Leah Catullo.
Mm-hmm.
I've been working with her.
She needs to come on this show.
She does.
She's a hoot, man.
And she's got a lot of information too. She's one of those people that she won't just, as the saying goes, cast her pearl before the swine. But if you're worthy, she'll sit there and
if she's
tell you
willing
some stuff.
to. Yeah.
Yep.
Man, we were with her at Kupikar.
Okay.
And I walk up, and she's wearing this tie-dye shirt. And I'm like, man, that's a really nice shirt. And she goes, yeah, you want to see my underwear? And she strips off her pants, and she's wearing yoga pants that match her shirt.
That's like her flying outfit. I've seen her in that before.
It was the funniest thing. Just the way she said it was just like, and now when I look at her like, okay. I mean, what do you say to that? Like, do you say sure? Do you say
yes.
No, thank you, not really interested? Like, what do you say? But
I've never had somebody ask me, but one day I'll know what to say now.
I don't think you can say that. I just saw your very pregnant wife.
Yeah.
So, all right. So the Palm Bay fly-in, last year there were around 200 pilots there.
Yep. We had 286.
And how many one-wheel people do you expect?
So we're planning for about 300.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa.
So like the tents, the porta potties, the toilets, the volunteers, like everything that we're planning for, we're planning between 600 and 700 people total. But then we're also doing local advertising. So like in Melbourne, Palm Bay, and then in Fort Lauderdale, we're going to be putting something in there. So during the daytime, we're hoping it's more like a family-friendly thing. We've got bands that are going to be coming Friday and Saturday.
Nice.
So the main stage area, we're going to have it's going to be a different setup than last year. We're actually moving it east, 3 blocks or 4 blocks southeast, and it's going to be all grass.
Nice.
So last year there was basically since the cops quit putting it on, since the Palm Bay Police Department stopped putting it on, the locals have been getting a little bit more agitated with where we were sitting.
Well, yeah, they're just riding their dirt bikes by all night long.
Yep. Well, and we're trying to make it more family friendly. So part of that was getting away from people drag racing past us.
Although I had the most fun 2 years ago, there was a group of guys out drifting, and there's this kid in a Mazda Miata that was drifting hard, and he was, he's 17, and he crashed twice while I was chasing him. And we talked about it first. I briefed him. I'm like, hey, if you're cool with it, I'd like to make a video where I'm chasing you in the paramotor, and I'll get really close. And so a couple times I put my wingtip on the hood, that kind of thing.
What?
Just getting really in tight with it.
Are these posted videos I can see?
That one, believe it or not, true story, same thing happened to me. The card corrupted. So, yeah. Maybe this year.
You know how I feel.
Maybe this year. Oh, dude, we've had some beautiful things that the cards are corrupt. That's one of those things where, now cards are so cheap.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends in the wedding photography business, which is a business I used to run, they buy cards for every event, and they never reuse them. They're they use the card. And it's
my spark plugs with 5 flights.
Yes.
Everybody's like, that's a waste. Why do you change your spark plug?
You change it every 5 flights?
I'm like, hey, man, 200 hours, knock on wood, no motor outs. Except for the one time I forgot to tighten it. Oh. I changed it right before my flight, and I was trying to get up. And so I had finger tightened it, and I'm looking it over. I'm doing my pre-check, and I'm like, oh, man, I don't have my wire on. So I put my wire on, take off.
All
This was actually just a little while ago. Anyway, don't want to derail.
right. So we may end up having time for those kind of conversations. Kate, would you please text the group chat, make sure they send Slade and Jason down here? Thank you. And if they have pizza, bring pizza.
Palm Bay Fly-In dates. That's
Palm Bay Fly-In is March the 12th through 16th, right?
15th.
15th.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So the reason why I wanted you to come on the show is I wanted to talk some about what you're doing and how you're trying to do more for the community through this, because it's already going to be one of the largest, if not the largest, fly-in in the country.
That's what we're hoping for.
So I really hope you guys have some great safety protocols and stuff to keep people separated, because especially when you get more advanced pilots out there, and a lot of these guys are from barrel rolls at 60 feet, and it just...
Well, we're going to have areas for that. So
Okay.
in the competition area for the paramotor events, it's going to be separate from like the regular LZs. So we're going to keep those separate. We have plenty of staff for volunteering, so we're going to have people that are on the fields for all of the open fly times. Outside of that, for anybody that's watching that is thinking, well, that's just public use land, you're exactly right. It is Florida recreational use land. We're just asking that in the areas that we're going to set up, to your point, specifically for the purpose of safety, we want people doing those things outside of the area that we're designating as our event
Safety area.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So there's thousands of acres. If someone wants to go, a little ways away, they can drag their wingtips on the ground, do whatever they want. We're just asking that in our area, you respect
Be gracious.
the maps. Yeah.
Or like in years past, we've organized things with Eric and whatnot, and then they've set aside some time for a group of us, like the Paradigm Team guys.
We're gonna have
put
those in the
something
afternoon.
on. Okay, so the event's
Do you guys want to do a little show?
I'm not sure who all's coming, so we'll have to figure that out, because we have Sun and Fun coming up 2 weeks after, and
Right.
so we have some air show practice here at Lake Wales and probably at Denellen as well coming up. But
Practice at Florida Fun Fest.
man, it's one of those. It sounds funny, but believe it or not,
It's not fun.
practice is work. I mean, you're up and down. You have a 9-minute, 30-second show, and it's oftentimes take off, land, take the paramotor off, come to a group huddle, review the footage, review the whoever's on the ground orchestrating. Hey, you're exiting your sat too low. You're mistiming your barrel rolls, and like going back up, doing the exact same thing again. Land. You'll do 10, 12 practices in a row, and you land, and you're done. I mean, you are so tired. It's people look at the air shows like, oh, that's really cool. They don't understand how much work.
Right.
Like, I mean, it's brutal, man. All right. So, biggest fly-in in the country, most likely. Endless Foot Drag's the only one that can hold a
Fingers
candle to
crossed.
it. And the weather there was terrible the last 2 years. So I haven't made Endless Foot Drag yet. I'd like to. Bad Apples is going to be pretty close too, though. Although I think they're going to be capped out
That's
on
probably one of my
space.
favorite fly-ins that I've been to.
Oh,
just
it's
because
gorgeous.
it's like a putting green.
Oh,
The
it
entire
literally
place.
is.
I flew barefoot both days just so that I could walk on that grass.
That's funny. Yeah, it is. It is the ultimate. But Palm Bay's closer, so we're going.
Yeah.
One of the things we wanted to talk about is a lot of people kind of give you backlash, and I see this all the time. You put on a fly-in. I don't know what it cost you to put on a fly-in.
Somebody should call and ask how much it costs to rent a dumpster. We'll just start with that.
Well, so let's start with that. So I'm going to give some numbers. Our last Wings Over Winter, which at this point will be the last Wings Over Winter, because unless we host it somewhere that's not one of our school sites, because it's just you're putting too much risk on a site that your 24 families are relying on, all our
Yep.
employees rely on. I want to say our expenses were $5,800 before the insurance. That's a 3-year-old number, 2-year-old number, so don't quote me. But that's paying for porta-johns, that's paying for a meal, that's paying for T-shirts, I may not even pay for T-shirts. It's ridiculous. Like, people don't realize how much goes into it. And because we're a company, we had plenty of helpers, but we didn't have, like, organized volunteers. So it's me at 5:30 in the morning, and Travis and Kyle at 5:30 in the morning, running out, setting everything up, trying to keep people safe, trying to do all the briefings, trying to make sure everyone signed waivers. And Mary, bless Mary's heart, at the time she was working with us, she had never been to a fly-in, had no idea what to expect. I come up with a ream of paper. I'm like, please print some waivers. And then she spent
We're
the
doing
next
DocuSign.
3 days. Well, that's a great idea. She literally spent 3 days having people sign their waiver,
Yeah.
and then get them the right size shirt. And then we don't have enough of the right size shirts because people didn't fill out the form properly. So overnighting shirts from Louisiana. Thank you, Lance and Gwen. You guys are busy. So we spent a ton of money, and your event is going to be even bigger. We had about, I think it was 196 registered pilots. So what do you guys estimate you're spending?
Right now, with everything, it's about $14,500.
Okay. What are you charging one-wheel riders?
One-wheel riders are $50.
How much for pilots?
$50.
$50. So $50 does it get you a T-shirt?
It does for paramotors. Actually, Don and Eric just called me a couple days ago, and they're like, "Hey, on the site, you still don't have it where the T-shirt's included. So for anyone that already has a ticket, you're going to be getting a refund on the T-shirt
Nice.
purchase. It's going to be included. For the one wheel, I'm not sure what we're doing with the shirts on that yet.
So
we may actually just take the shirts down, have them at the show available.
I'm going to do some quick math here, and because I was homeschooled, I have to use one of these fancy things called a calculator. So let's say we exceed expectations, and because I always try to underutilize. Let's say you end up with 600 pilots and riders. You're going to have $30,000. I should have been able to do that math without a calculator. I apologize. I was trying to talk and do math, and it wasn't working at the same time. So $30,000. What are you guys going to do with the extra money?
We're going to Vegas, and we're going to put it all in black. Yeah, you're invited.
Oh, sweet. All right, cool. So
No,
just the
so-
cool people are invited? I'm not invited then.
Yeah, so realistically, here's what I'm hoping is that we're going to break even. Anything over break even, I talked with Don and Eric about what we're going to be doing with those funds. I'm in the process right now of trying to do a nonprofit because my whole purpose for this was for our communities.
Yeah.
It was to bring people that don't have an idea. I mean, we ride our one wheels everywhere, and we saw people all the time that say, "Oh, what is that? What is that?" Every time I tell someone I fly a paramotor, what is that? So that means there's not awareness. And what I want to get is awareness. So that's why we're making it more of a public event. We're inviting people in. We have a donation, spectator pass someone can get if they're coming to use our facilities. We got vendor trucks there for food.
And one of the cool things you did is you're not charging vendors because you're trying to encourage as many
Yes.
industry vendors to come as possible.
Yes.
So, like, I'll have to pay $50 if I want to fly there.
So next year there will definitely be a charge. All the vendors that are coming this year have been told that they are like grandfathered into next year if they want to come. But yeah, we expect this year after year
to grow.
Yes.
And it really is the perfect location. If anybody has not seen this location, and by the way, I saw Kyle Oakley in the chat. He said he's coming. I'm super stoked. Yes, are there going to be tacos?
It's so funny you asked that, Kyle. Yes, one of the vendors that we have is a taco truck.
Victory. Victory. All right. So this location, if you guys haven't seen this, open up a second tab, or I'm sure most people have more than 2 tabs open.
Yeah.
Open up another tab. I think I have about 70 open right now. And type in youtube.com/aviator. Click on, or in the search bar, type Palm Bay. I've got 4 or 5 videos in there from previous Palm Bay fly-ins. When you see the location,
I should steal those.
you're welcome to. Yeah, 100%. Please do. It's absolutely. Check those out because it's really important. So to see where you're going to be, because it really is a unique place. It's a place where they shoot off 20-foot tall rockets. It's a place where there's like people dumping machine guns in the backyard. I'm pretty sure I saw a body once. It's a weird place, and it's really cool.
And when the sun sets, man, it is so beautiful.
It's gorgeous. So you're not going to Vegas. You're not putting it all in
not
black.
going to Vegas.
If you end up with $14,400 extra,
Surplus.
what are you guys doing?
Most of that we're going to be giving to Resurgence, PPG.
Well, I hope the Aviator Foundation gets some love.
Well, I don't know what you guys do.
We are dedicated to inspiring people and letting people who would otherwise not ever have the opportunity to see flight and be a part of flight do that. But our primary mission is helping with legal battles, helping us maintain flying sites. Because
Got it.
right now we spent so much time and money keeping this airport alive for paramotors, and tonight you saw like 20 pilots in the sky, right? How cool is that? It's a freaking Tuesday night, and there's like 20 pilots in the sky.
Yeah.
So that's what our mission is. So we've got a legal team, and we're trying to make sure that we can keep this sport legal. So
yeah, the point is,
I mean, we're not resurgence. I get it. Todd's sexier. He's got better eyes. I get it. I get it.
Well, and that's the flying that I met him at. But no, the point is we're going to be very transparent on everything. We don't want any of the community from either side, the haters or the people that love it, to feel like this is something where we're trying to gain a profit off of it. I have a day job, that I love. I've been at for 11 years. I don't plan on changing that. But
I have a day job too, and I don't make a.
but I have a passion for this, and I feel like if one of the quotes that somebody said is, nobody's gonna listen to the music. Nobody's going to care about the vendor trucks. Nobody's going to care about the bounce houses or the activities or the yoga.
Dude, you're going to have yoga and bounce houses?
Yes.
I'm so in.
But this is the thing is a lot of the fly-ins, I love them for the camaraderie, but then it almost feels like high school where everybody goes to their little clique.
Yep.
They go to their little RVs, and then the whole weekend you might meet 1 or 2 new people.
I literally was talking about this today. I was talking about this either today or yesterday with somebody. I'm like, I don't love fly-ins because the way I fly, I can't fly that way safely around 200 pilots. I can't do that. Like, I can't go up and rip barrel rolls and do that.
Or somebody thinks you're doing it to show off.
And exactly. And I do it for me, but I'm not going to put myself in a position. Like, I will not go to a fly-in and I fly at maybe 4/10 of my ability because I don't want to put myself in a dangerous situation or put someone else in that position.
Right.
So I don't go there to fly. So then I'm going there to sit on the ground and watch other people fly, which oftentimes just makes me cringe because a lot of them really scare me. And then it ends up being me answering questions, which is fine. I'm happy to serve people, or replacing people's propellers that they've broken. And so it's like, I love the community, but most of the time they niche up so hard. You'll get this group of people who hate that group of people, who won't talk to that group of people because of the equipment they fly. I love this idea.
Yeah.
You're creating community, man. Like, Todd and I talked about this a couple weeks ago. Like, we've got to create community and we've got to put down the
Well, and here's the other thing a lot of people don't get is, a lot of the friends that I have all over the world, actually, that are instructors, some of them do it as their full-time job, and some of them do it on the side.
Right.
And I think a lot of the people that have had something to say about Aviator are people that do it on the side. And it's like, quit your other job and have everything be this, and then come back and talk to me.
Yeah, put it all on the line. It's.
But it's like that.
Dude,
with
I could
the show.
talk for
The last
hours.
show the last fly-in I went to, we had several people that were asking me questions about the fly-in, and they were like, well, not to be negative, but a lot of people think you're just doing this for the money, and it's like, okay, well, let's squash that. Let's make everything transparent, and then give the excess funds.
Knock on
Hopefully,
wood, baby.
yeah, there's excess funds. It's first year festival, and I talked to the guy that runs the one up in North Carolina, the Float Life Fest. He said, do not anticipate to hit numbers. So
Dude,
I already told my wife,
do well.
I was like, I'm going to use my bonus this year to pay for part of this debt.
So that's something that the community can look at too, is how can we help you? Get a 501c3 set up. It's important.
Yep.
That way you can do this for a really good cause, which is trying to create adventure.
Well, and I want young people. That's why we're trying to make it family friendly and bring out the activities. We have a couple other things that hopefully are in the works. I'm not announcing them right now, but we're going to try to have other things there for children, because
I would love to bring my kids.
Yeah, my daughter, who's now 18 months old, she loves it. I mean, literally loves it. She gets excited. She points. She'll run outside if she
was
hears
a joy
me.
tonight.
Yeah, and so to be able to bring more youth in and see this at a younger age. My first time I was 10 years old in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and that was the seed that planted that said, the guy. We went down and talked to him, and how much is that? $10,000. And at the time, I was thinking, well, how am I ever going to get $10,000? But fast forward, save and work, and here you are. It was that seed though that started it. So
did you happen to see the video we released today?
No.
So we released the video from our first class at X35 in Denellen, and there's a line in there that I love, and it talks about one of our students is telling the story. He said he was like 8 years old, and he was at the beach, and he saw this guy flying, and then he just thought it was the most incredible thing to see. And then fast forward 20 years later, he realized this is as close to exact quote as I can give you. He's like, fast forward 20 years later, and I realized I'm an adult. I can do that.
I can do that now.
It's so cool, man. It's so cool. So I'm going to answer a few questions for people in here. Craig Taylor, our Aviator Foundation website is being worked on by Dan the Man's beautiful girlfriend, Britt. Hopefully she'll be out very soon. She's been incredible and just the best, most humble servant ever. So hopefully it'll be up soon. Right now, if you want to make a donation to the Aviator Foundation, just send us a check written out to the Aviator Foundation, and we will put it in our nonprofit account. We just received word from a gentleman, Robert Durbin, who just lost a flying site that may end up being one of our first cases. We're trying to find places where there is a legitimate use that is being violated. Because right now, most of its grant assurance is from the FAA being violated, and because of our work through all the grant assurance requirements here, we know the law. And John Stidham, who's been on the show, is an incredible trial attorney. He's the guy that you want in your corner. So we'll definitely be putting funds to good use. And I know he won't charge us his full rate. So at least I don't believe he will. So he's not in it for the money for sure. All right, so Palm Bay fly-in coming up in March, probably the biggest fly-in in the country. Really going to be exceptional, I think. Like, it's going to be an exciting time to.
It's either going to be
here.
exceptional or it's going to be Woodstock. We're going to get rained out, and everybody's going to be sitting under the tent drinking beer.
I happen to remember that Woodstock ended up being a pretty good festival.
Hey, yeah. Well, it's going to be fun one way or another. We have people coming from California. We have people coming from Ohio, New York. So I'm excited.
Well, I had a couple conversations the last few days planning for this conversation. Today I spoke with Tom from Parajet. I believe he's coming.
Heck yes.
We're hosting a Ozone Power dealers meeting here before the event. So Amelia Plack from Ozone is coming all the way from Spain. Chad Bastian is coming from California. We have, I believe, Navid Selecki is coming from Italy from Fly Products. We just ordered another Eco 2 Lite and a Zenith. So we're going to have the biggest legal tandem trike in the country at the event. It's got a 50 horsepower,
Really?
45 horsepower motor, like a Rotax 503 type motor. It's actually an RMZ 500. So we're going to bring that out. We'll be flying it at the event. So you guys will see this beast. The climb rate's insane. So we're going to make sure that we have plenty of equipment. We'll bring parts. We'll bring at least a few representatives of our team because we do have a class going on that week. So it's a little bit challenging. Last year we brought the class, or 2 years ago we brought the class.
Really?
Which is pretty fun. And I flew my Cub in, which is a blast. Sadly, the Kit Fox won't be ready, but it is coming together. And we have a meeting with our friends at Viking to get the engine mounted in the next few weeks. I want to talk about, let's see, power floats behind me. If anybody's not flying with flotation, you definitely need flotation, particularly if you're going to be flying at Palm Bay, because Bombardier has a test lake there where they literally race jet skis all over the place.
Is that how you say that?
Bombardier? Yeah.
I always said Bombardier.
Bombardier!
Bombardier.
I got me there, Bombardier. Yeah, so... yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm excited. Like Palm Bay is one of my favorite places to fly. You can easily hop from Palm Bay at the compound over to the beach.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the nice things is on the site. So if you go to FloridaFunFest.com, you're going to see it broken out by one-wheel events, paramotor events, activities, local things to do. And the nice thing for one-wheel riders is we have really 4 different sites outside of Palm Bay that they can ride as well. So even for people that aren't competing, like let's say you want to go on a morning ride in the afternoon, you want to go check out one of these sites. Every one of them is 30 minutes or less of a drive, and it's beginner to expert trails, lots of different riding types.
Do you have one that's just like AstroTurf with a really nice layer of foam underneath? Because I need that.
Palm Bay, man. Yeah, the grass.
Great question from Blaze. He asked if there's any other rules to come here and fly. Bring your wing and show up. Bring your wing and show up, Blaze. You offer me your gear sitting in NSC. Of course you can come fly mine, my friend. I would love to have you. Looks like Brian Waller is joining us. Brian, can't wait to see you, my friend. And I think Paramotor Crazy, there's like a whole bunch of good dudes. So, yeah, in the States, Blaze, it's even more free. You don't have to be part of a school to fly. You just have to follow FAR 103, which is one whole page of regulations. Basically just says you're not going to hurt somebody else. So, all right. We're 28 minutes in. We're waiting for our other guests. This is the problem when you have your students as guests. Is they don't want to stop flying. So I know that Legal Sunset was like 15 minutes ago, and I heard about 15 minutes ago that Slade was still flying.
Strobe lights.
So, yeah, strobe lights are the bomb. Man, I just got a picture. That's really
from
pretty.
a student.
Look at that. Look at that. They can't see it on the stream, but guys, that's beautiful, right?
Eric was like, "You want to use my stuff and fly tonight?" I was like, "No, I want to just focus on this."
Man.
Yeah, I got out there and I was watching. There was like 12 people or something flying around. I'm like, "You kidding me? I should have flown."
Yeah. Oh man, what a perfect night. So let's see. We've got Blaze. If you are looking to stop making money and want to come work for us, just give us a call. I'd love to have your personality here. So we would love to take your questions now. Questions for me, questions for Nathan, talking about the fly-in, talking about any kind of aviation. I do have to get him back to his wife and their toddler because so far they've been really nice to me, and I'm really kind of scared of your toddler. No, she's amazing. She's
nice.
like the sweetest kid. Oh, my gosh. Gobble it up while you can because eventually they become 3.
I got a 15-year-old, so I know both spectrums.
I wasn't sure how old she was.
Yeah,
she's 15. So I met her, your wife, and your daughter about a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you guys came in March.
Yep. Yeah, it was for my dad's birthday.
Paramotor Crazy. Nathan, can we pay when we get there?
Yes, definitely. We're going to have the tap to pay, chip, swipe, debit, credit.
Can I encourage you to not include a T-shirt if they wait to show up?
Yeah, we're going to be posting on the Facebook and the main website. I'm pretty sure the way we're going to do it is we're going to order some for the show, and then people can order them and they'll get them a little while later. Because here's the thing: most people get a shirt just for like the nostalgic purposes of it, so they don't have to have it the week after.
No, paramotor pilots get a shirt because they don't have any other shirts.
Well, and that's why the paramotor pilot shirts are included, because Don's taking care of those. But yeah, for the one wheel shirts, I'm not sure yet.
Matthew Pesci, has Aviator been out of 24-meter Spider 3s? No, we are constantly rotating stock. I think we sent out 9 or 10 ozone gliders yesterday. So lots of Spider 24s go in and out of here. If you're looking for a certain color or custom colors, let us know. There was a question. Just scroll up a little bit for me. Where can you camp, Nathan?
So technically you can camp anywhere, inside or outside of the event grounds. If you don't want to pay the $50 and get a wristband to be one of the cool kids, you can camp anywhere.
Don't do that. Support this poor man's Porta-John addiction, please.
If you're camping inside, we're going to have those maps coming up in 2 weeks.
Okay, cool. So there's dedicated camping areas, and
we're going to have like quiet camping and regular camping. So if somebody doesn't want to be
nice.
where the band and the stage is going to be at, they can camp a little ways away from that.
Generator hours or generators in one area, no generators in another.
I haven't thought of that.
Because there's one guy, I don't know who it is.
We have tent camping, and there won't be generators down there.
This guy shows up to every fly-in with one of those construction generators.
Oh, yeah.
That literally, it's just like that. Like, so, I mean, I'm in a motorhome, which, you'd think that this 45-foot thing would have sound. It doesn't. I'm pretty sure it's an amplifier. And so it just hurts my soul. Because it's the loudest thing in the world. I think if you're sleeping in a tent. And one year I slept in our wing trailer. One year, like, it was terrible. So
you'll see a dark blue area, and it's going to say quiet camping.
Nice.
That's where the people are going to go that want quiet camping.
Okay, so very cool. I'm going to show up with my generator, and I will not park in quiet camping, but I'm excited. I haven't even run the generator yet. I bought an old bus from Chris Garrison's dad, our school. He's our school training director. National training director is his current title, and then he has. Recently, last week, he took on the role of operations manager. So he's helping me run the company as well. And he's one of the most brilliant people. And his dad had this old bus. And he's like, do you want to buy an old bus? And I was like, I can't afford anything else. So sure. So it's got this like 1996 old Monaco. And it's not big enough for my family, but I'm going to build a whole bunch of bunk beds. It's going to be great.
That's awesome.
So
go on tour.
Going on tour, taking this guy out west this summer, Lord willing. I'm going to make some really cool videos with one wheels and paramotors and kit boxes, and it's going to be a blast. So is there a website for the flying? Kate, would you write the website title on the...
Yes, it is FloridaFunFest.com. www.FloridaFunFest.com.
www. Yes, FloridaFunFest.com.
That's it. A paramotor and one-wheel festival of fun.
I'm excited. I actually am really excited for it because... it gets to couple a lot of my favorite things. I remember in Lycoming, Pennsylvania last year, it was the first time I'd ever ridden the one wheel more than 100 yards because I was genuinely scared of it because AJ and Fletch hurt themselves, and I was like, I'm genuinely scared of this thing. And so I'd ride it really slowly through the hangar, that kind of thing. And then Ed and I go out, and we're like, well, let's go to town. So we're in town, but like we're going to go right. So we were all the way through downtown, and it was this... sidewalk that was up and down and big jumps and drops, and I only crashed like 4 or 5 times. I didn't fall off. I didn't crash,
right.
But like it came off the board, and my leg was aching when we got back, and it was just a blast. It's like it's freedom in a different way because like you and I were talking earlier, and you talk about how the one wheel has shifted your perspective of space. So you were talking about a resort.
Yeah. So my wife and I, we go to this place called the Bahia Principe in Jamaica. It was where we went on our when we got married on our honeymoon, and it always seemed so huge. And it would take you a good 20 minutes to walk from one side to the other because they had like so many different things. It was this big sprawl. And we got our one wheels like 5 years ago, something like that. And we've gone back a bunch of times for other anniversaries, and it just made it really come small. So for some things it's bad, but to your point, like Chattanooga, Tampa, Jacksonville, Nashville, Tennessee, San Francisco, there's a lot of cities that I've always loved. when you get to experience them on a one wheel, it makes it like just so much better.
Yeah, I travel with mine in the RV, so in the airplane.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't fly to the Netherlands without it. You know, I did this last time because my tire was dead. I wore it out, and
that's good.
Now I have a new tire and it has tread, and I can go over cool things now. Sand.
There's going to be a lot of sand at Palm Bay. We have in one of the expert level courses, it actually goes on 4 types of terrain, and one of them is sand. So we're going to be testing some of these northerners. They're like, oh, I can do really good off road on trails. It's like,
wait till you try sugar sand, Bubba.
Come ride in sugar sand.
So
it's delicate.
We actually we just became dealers. We're already dealers for one wheel, of course, which we have pints in stock and XRs on order. But we are becoming dealers for Craft and Ride. So we're going to have a whole bunch of Craft and Ride accessories at Palm Bay for those people as well. Because, quite frankly, if you're a butt fan guy, a one wheel is a perfect accessory.
Yep.
I used it today to run back and forth to the training field 3 times to get wings to help out students. You know, it makes sense. So, you got to go.
Yep.
So I'm going to put pause on this for just a second, find out where my rest of my guests are. You guys will have a 3 to 5 minute break. Then we'll bring in, if nothing else, I'm bringing in Marcus Yana. Marcus is my best friend, and he's a paramotor pilot and a chiropractor, and he can talk all about things you should do to get fit before training. So we'll bring him in about 2 minutes. We'll find out more, and I'll see you guys in a moment. And welcome back to the world's shortest break. I want to introduce my friend. He's actually very famous for all of his acts with his blue ox. You got to get close to the microphone.
Mountain Man.
Mountain Man. Yeah. This is Marcus Yana. Marcus, actually, our friends have been our family have been friends for like 60 years.
Forever.
Yeah. Forever. So Marcus, I learned to drive on your grandparents' ranch.
Yep, the ranch.
When I was like 14 years old.
All the grandkids did. All the cousins, everybody. Yeah.
I was 14, driving a minivan, trying not to get stuck in sugar sand. You and I started connecting again probably 5 years ago.
Yep.
And you're a chiropractor.
Yep.
You're also, according to your shirt, into caffeine and kilos, which I think is a reference to CrossFit.
Yes.
So Marcus helped us put together our first videos on fitness that our students receive before they come and train.
Right.
Because you're kind of a fitness dork.
A little bit, yeah. Sometimes.
So what I want to bring up here, are we still online? Is it working? Is the internet working? Kind of? Okay. It's just yours. That's messed up. All right. So a few things. We'll keep this brief because I know you don't want to be on camera. You gotta go watch Little League. And are you coaching Little League this year?
Assisting
coach.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Assist.
I'm so intrigued.
No, I just help the guys out. They're 7-8-year-olds, so attention span is very short.
Yes.
So I direct them and tell them to get the ball and swing the bat, and So yeah.
So we're actually flying next weekend for Mardi Gras again. So you guys will be at a game most likely. Last year we got to fly over the crowd.
No, opening day is the following weekend, 29th, 2 weeks. So
come assist us. Perfect.
Cool.
So what are some things that you would encourage people to do? Obviously, stretching's huge because groin injuries are our number one. Our number one thing is people stretching their groin out.
Yep. Stretching, knee injuries. Running, landing. A little closer.
They can't hear you.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, just basically stretching, good mobility, being able to do a full squat. Be able to put the paramotor on. Be able to jog. Good knee health, that type of thing.
Good. So if you're like me,
Yeah.
I snapped my tib fib and tore my PCL, and 2 weeks later I rode a motorcycle to Alaska, so I never let it heal right.
Right.
My left knee's weak as hell. It just is.
Yep.
What are some? I mean, you don't have to do them, but just tell someone what they could Google to look up how to strengthen their knees.
Just body weight exercises such as just air squats or lunges, or just get some bands at home from Walmart or somewhere. Just anything like that is better than nothing.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. So, how long did you learn to fly?
How long ago?
3 years, 4 years?
4 years ago. Yeah. Sun and Fun will be about 4 years, I think. Yeah. That was right after Sun and Fun.
So because he's my bro, I was flying a Nirvana Instinct 230 at the time.
Yep.
And I couldn't carry it.
Yeah.
So I got a picture of Marcus with the motor on his back, and he was my gear schlepper.
Yep. At Sun and Fun. Yeah.
It was because I've caddied for you golfing.
Yeah.
And you caddied for me flying.
There you go. That works.
My back hurt so badly. So, truly appreciate it. If you guys have any questions for Marcus, what are some of your favorite flying memories? You don't have that many because you prefer CrossFit. Is it because there are more girls at CrossFit?
No, not really. I mean,
you're the most eligible bachelor in Lake Wales. So
no. Recently, I haven't flown the last 4 or 5 months because I've been in the woods every other weekend hunting. So,
guys, we got to get this guy to go to fly-ins. We got to get him to travel. I'm going to Italy, Monaco, and England in April.
Okay.
If you want to come fly in some really cool spots.
Don't tempt me. I'll have to close the office down.
Close the office down. I keep telling you to hire another chiropractor.
I know, right?
Jeez.
So.
All right. If you guys have any questions, Kate, I don't know if they're loading or not. We're stuck at 8:42 and it's 8:44. So not 8:44, 18:44.
Yeah.
So all right. Anyway, guys, I'm still waiting for my other guest. This is really awkward.
Are they flying? Or?
They were. It's dark now, so I hope they're not flying.
Well, yeah.
They haven't replied to my texts.
They're having too much fun.
All right. Let's see. If you guys have any questions for Marcus, bring them up. Otherwise, I'm just going to sit here and ask him random questions.
Another good thing to work on is good shoulder mobility.
That is a big one.
Being able to get the arms back. Arms back.
Stretched.
Yep.
Try to pinch a capsule between your shoulder blades.
Yep.
Yeah, that helps.
Trying to think of anything else.
Especially big guys. Guys who are strong really struggle with getting that opened up.
Usually their chest is real tight, so they can't get their arms back. Bring the wing up, inflate the wing.
Yep, and you want that nice, calm, get the arms back so you can slowly bring the glider overhead.
So that's a good one.
We do have a video, but it's only for people who have signed up for training. So if you guys have signed up for training, this is actually something that's important to bring up. So right now on February 29th, we have 1 slot open here. In March, we have 3 slots open in a class. We have classes open in May, and we have class dates open all the way till 2020. So if you guys are interested in joining us, please check out our website. Our website is available. It's Aviator PPG or aviatorparamotor.com/training. We can make that stuff happen. Brian Waller looking for an XR. We got you. Somebody asked, are there ways you would recommend to avoid a back injury?
Just good mobility, really, being able to stretch, squat down, lunge, that type of thing, be able to jog okay. In today's society, a lot of people tend to be overweight. So the more heavyweight you are, the more likely you're going to have a back injury or down the road have a back injury. So just trying to stay fit in general.
Well, that's something. We have a weight limit of 250 pounds.
Yep.
All right. And the reason we have the 250-pound weight limit is because, A, we want everyone to succeed. And if you're 290, chances are you're going to struggle.
Right.
The other part of that's important to recognize is that we have a tandem that we have to take you on to keep you safe.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if you're over 250 right now, it's really difficult to get off the ground and have a climb rate.
Yep.
So what I would encourage people is to use that as a goal. Use it as a tool, realistically, because most people don't realize that, like, paramotoring can change your life.
It can.
And one of the ways you can change it is by getting fit, by getting in shape. We had a guy, Jurgen. Jurgen came to us. This story is awesome. So he was in the last class at X35 in Denellen, and he weighed 350 pounds.
Wow.
9 months ago.
Okay.
Maybe it was 6 months ago. He lost 95 pounds.
Damn.
Jurgen's a chef. Like, you never
Yeah.
trust. Like Shane's in here says, never trust a skinny chef. Like,
Yeah.
Jurgen was a big dude. He owns a couple restaurants over there.
Oh, yeah.
In the Caymans, and the best part is Jurgen can't fly in his country.
Wow.
So he completely radically changed his life, lost all this weight, and can't even fly in his country. So he bought paramotor gear to keep in Denellen.
Yep.
So he can't fly where he lives. So he bought gear to leave there so he can come back and forth and visit.
And fly, yep.
Because it changed his life that much. Like,
it is.
Guys, you can do it.
It's a good motivating factor,
yeah.
too. Great
Yeah,
one.
I mean, John Hancock, I think he lost 70 pounds to fly, you know? So
Yep. It can be done.
it can be done.
Yeah.
We are certainly understanding of people who struggle to lose weight. I struggle to lose weight because I like pasta. Even though I'm skinny, I'm
the
very
carbs.
skinny fat.
Fat.
I stopped drinking beer.
There you go. Switch it up a little bit. Yeah. So.
All right. So the rest of our guests have finally arrived. Marcus, thank you for coming on.
Yes, sir. Thank
without knowing you were going to and probably wanting to murder me the whole
No,
time.
you're good. You're good.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and kick Marcus out. We're going to bring in Slade. Slade, are you ready? All right, slide on in, Slade. We got all the students down here. They all just showed up and they brought booze. Are these the whiskeys that you made?
Yes, that's a bourbon with our red corn and rye, and this is a.
Which one do I try?
Okay, so this is Nevada. Nevada, say you can wave to the camera. Nevada is not from Nevada. Nevada's from Pennsylvania. He owns a series of farms that, by the way, if anybody lives in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and you guys fly paramotors, especially if you're one of our past Aviator family, you're part of our student group. That guy's gonna be your best friend because he has a 250-acre hay farm,
and with a nickname, the Vet. Come on.
And he doesn't care about profits, so he's willing to cut it short all the time. But he grows rye and corn, and so he's got these red corn whiskeys that he's been talking about. And my glass is already full.
I'm gonna try this red one.
All right, here.
Liberty Pole.
Liberty Pole. All right, so this just got to be a way more interesting podcast. Derek says he met you at Lycoming. Yes, you did, Derek. You did indeed. And I forgot that I met Nevada, so I'm a terrible person. I remember meeting him now, but I did not remember at the time. All right.
Well, first of all, cheers.
Salud. Welcome.
guys.
Cheers, everybody over there. And cheers to the camera, guys. Thank you all for being here with us. I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure. All right, so here's the deal. You've been on a podcast before.
I have.
Eat the mic.
I'm eating it.
Eating the mic. All
Hey,
right.
Mike.
So let's back up a little bit. Your name is Slade Heathcott. Zachary Slade.
Zachary Slade.
Zachary
Gone by
Slade.
Slade.
So Slade and I have been friends for about 6 months.
Yeah.
6 whole months. More than that, actually.
Maybe
like 8. Yeah. We met in one of the most random ways ever.
I don't think anything in life's random, by the way.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
This might end up being a 3-hour podcast. So I'm part of a group called the Entrepreneurs Organization, and EO has been a huge asset to my life. One of my mentors said, "Hey, you got to join EO. It's the best thing ever. It's the reason for all my success." The guy's very successful. He's one of our past students, and he said, "Join." So I joined. I go to my first meeting, and they're like, "Why'd you join EO?" I'm like, "I don't know. What's EO?" I had no idea. Fast
What your
forward,
mentor said to him.
yeah. But fast forward about 5 months later, and I am walking into to an EO event with my wife. We've flown over to Tampa, and we're gonna go listen to this guy, Nick Santadesasso. Did I say it right?
You got it.
Yes. and Nick's one of the most invigorating people I've ever met.
Yes.
He's written a short book called Victim to Victor.
Victim, not victor. Yeah.
Is that,
yeah.
All right. Well,
Great story.
phenomenal story. It's about a kid who's born with no legs, one arm, and a finger.
Yes.
Right.
He was actually born in high school with 3/4 of his arm on one side, and then which ends up being the side that's his nub,
Right.
and then his other hand his finger. And do you know his wrestling story?
Oh yeah.
It's incredible. So in high school, he was tired of feeling left out, feeling a purpose, battled depression a lot, something he's very open about. And he comes home one day, he's like, I'm going to go try out for the wrestling team. So he goes and the skin on the one side was pulled extremely tight.
Yeah.
So anything he would hit it on, anything. So anyways, long story short, he turns around and chooses to literally cut it off to give him the ability to wrestle. And he actually ended up winning a match.
Yeah. In varsity wrestling in
Yes.
high school. So this guy is extremely passionate about taking your situation and not being a victim to it, taking the things that happen to you and not saying, hey, these people screwed me over or life screwed me over, or just saying, hey, listen, this is my experience, this is my existence, and I'm going to do the best I can with it. So he came to an EO and he did this beautiful speech, and one of my favorite exercises, he says, close your eyes and think about what you're thankful for. And Nell and I were sitting there thinking, and our life is far from easy. We're going to actually, Danielle's going to be on the show soon, possibly next week, to talk about her life experiences and what her struggles have been, and how flying has shifted a lot of things. But we sat there, and as we tried to think through what has made us thankful, we couldn't pick one. It was like watching, those old things you look through, like a little
snapshots,
you're like chink, chink,
yeah.
chink. And it was amazing. So we met because as we're walking into this Bank of America building downtown Tampa, I see Nick. You're behind him pushing him, and he's in his wheelchair. And the poor guy's got two boxes of books stacked up. He can't see. He's like, he's completely
holding
blocked off. You can't see anything. So I'm like, hey, you must be Nick, because there's not a whole lot of one-armed dudes walking around here. Can I carry your boxes for you? And then we had to wait for like 17 elevators, and I won't lie, about halfway through holding 2 giant boxes of books, I'm like, God, that other guy over there looks like he has big muscles.
You're like, can you carry these?
Hey, Slade. But so that's what we started to have a little conversation, had the learning experience, and then we all went out to dinner afterwards. And you and I ended up bonding because you're a pilot.
And of course, we let each other know that immediately.
Well, how do you know who a pilot is at a party? Let's be honest.
Because they're going to let you know.
100%. I'm like, dude, like the coolest thing I get to do is that I fly to learning events. Like, instead of driving 2 hours to Tampa, or an hour and a half, I fly, and it's like 20 minutes, and it's super cool, and
I love it.
I don't have a whole lot of things that make me cool. I'm kind of still the dorky kid from high school that was 6'4", 130. So you got to latch on to what you got. Anyway, so we started talking about flying. We met up again at Oshkosh. Yeah. We stayed in touch. I begged you at Oshkosh, like, I'm going to do that. But no, we got class space available February 1st. You're going to be there? He's
I
like,
signed up that night.
Boom, you did. I was so proud of you. But I didn't know your actual background. It wasn't until halfway through dinner I realized. So it's like, what did you? Let's step. First off, tell what we did, and then we want to back up to high school and college.
Yeah, how much do you want to know? I'm an open book, so I'll share my whole life.
I'm the same way. So what's your claim to fame? How about that?
I don't know if I have a claim to fame, but I do, when we set in on the first Aviator class, we were talking about superheroes and things of that nature. I think with my life, everything has taught me to stand back up. And through the course of life and experiencing childhood stuff, and I'm more than welcome to get into it, but the biggest thing was just being able to stand back up, be able to keep progressing. So I guess that's my claim to fame, or superhero, as we call it here with Aviator. So, I had an interesting upbringing. early on, I was no different than every other kid. Athletic, played football, baseball, soccer, wrestling. You know,
That's different than every other kid because I didn't do any of that.
okay. Well, when you grow up in like the middle of the United States in the South, it's normal. Yeah, so normal childhood. I lived with my parents or my grandparents, and parents had like a split home growing up. Everything was pretty normal. Started probably when I got into middle school. We moved to Bixby, Oklahoma, and things started getting. My parents had a really bad relationship, physically and verbally abusive, to the point of baseball bats and broken window. Oh yeah, it was crazy. But I remember at a pretty young age, and it was in Bixby, where I realized that if they would fight with me, they're not going to fight each other, because what would happen is they would get in a fight and one would leave for 4 or 5 days and whatever, and they would cool down and come. They just had a terrible relationship, and something that they tried to make work for the kids, for me and my little brother.
Which is not the healthiest thing, guys.
No, it is.
I mean,
not.
I'm not a licensed therapist. I just
no, I would never.
I see those relationships. I'm like, guys, like, why? If you're fighting for your kids, don't you want your kids to have a good example?
I'm divorced now, and that's the second best decision I've ever made in my life. I babysit for my ex-wife now. I take her husband golfing. Like, we're great friends. I make my son call him on Father's Day. But it was the same thing. Like, I knew immediately that I walked into the house and felt like I was back in my childhood.
Wow.
And I was like, I swore that I would never raise my son in this atmosphere. And I think I've been very fortunate through the course of life to have everything come full circle in terms of lessons and learning. So it started getting, in Bixby, it started getting where they were really bad, verbally abusive and things like that. So my dad growing up was actually my stepfather that I ended up finding out. So I've actually never met my biological father. Which is crazy because I ran into a random girl and like talking for a wedding in Louisiana. She calls me like 2 weeks later and she's like, "Hey, is your real dad's name Chris?" And I'm like, first of all, yes, it is, but like, how does that? Anyways, I ended up meeting my third cousin randomly in Louisiana.
No kidding.
That knows my real dad. So maybe there's a calling there, but I've never had the interest to meet my biological father. No hard feelings, anything like that. Just it hasn't come up. So I learned that if I would get them fighting with me, they wouldn't fight with each other. And then that continued for like 3 or 4 years where it just got really bad relationship-wise. Me and my dad would fight. Me and my mother would fight. Me and my little brother would fight. There was just a lot of commotion.
A lot of tension and
commotion.
commotion.
A lot of tension.
Yeah.
I remember the day before. So for high school, we moved to Texarkana, Texas. And the day before I moved was the first time that I got in a fist fight with my dad. And got my ass kicked. Oh, I don't know if we can say cuss words on here.
You can. I try to keep them to a
guys.
minimum.
I got my butt handed to me the day before we moved, but got to Texarkana, and in my freshman year, same thing. Like, my dad would end up disappearing for a couple days at a time. Figured it was the same old thing. Like, they're arguing, they're fighting, whatever. And we get a call one night, pulled over, arrested, trafficking, and possession. And that was the first time that it actually registered. Like, my dad was always funny, always class clown, big dude, but extremely lazy, very unreliable. Like, I remember growing up just being like, just questioning that. Like, he had an auto body shop, and everybody's mad because he's not keeping his stuff in order. He's just all over the place. So that was the first inkling, okay, there's something else bigger going on here. So ended up going to jail, getting back out, actually moving back in with us, going in. And then it continued that pattern until my sophomore year. He ended up, same thing, got arrested the second time now, but he was actually at a crack house.
Oh, jeez.
So he got busted. They, busted and raided the house. He was there. He went to jail for a while, gets out. We ended up having to get a restraining order. Because he was coming around and owing people money. So before the freshman and sophomore year, he's breaking into everything he can find, taking everything. My dad was a big dude, like 6'3", 6'4", 300 pounds.
Holy cow.
Yeah, he's a big dude. And
so he beat you by just sitting on you like that.
Yeah. He broke my nose is how he got me.
Oh, Jesus.
But at one point, fast forward slightly, junior year, he was like 180 pounds, 170 pounds.
Whoa. Meth's a hell of a drug.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So I had multiple times like that. So people that look on the internet, there's something to talk about like a gun scene and things like that nature, which then gets tied into more of my past. So I started drinking my freshman year. It was a normal thing to do. I was on varsity for football and baseball. I was around the older guys. It's Texarkana, Texas.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We go to a random field. We light a bonfire. We sit on a tailgate.
Sounds like my childhood.
Yeah, like it just that's what we did in Texarkana. So I started that my freshman year. Nothing big. Fast forward sophomore, going into junior year, that's when we end up getting a restraining order. My mother finally is like, "No, this has got to
No
stop.
more.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
has got to
good.
stop."
Good.
He's bringing people around that he owes money to, normally weird figures. So one night, my junior year, and so right before this, I had my mother and father arrested at one baseball game. So my father shows up. My mom calls the cops on my dad. They arrest him. They're talking to my mom, and she has a warrant out for arrest for hot checks. So they ended up both getting arrested at a high school baseball game.
So I don't want to cut your
No,
story
you're fine.
short, but I do want to point out the fact that I promise all of this comes back around to paramotoring.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but it comes back around to the same idea we were talking about with Nick, which is you were put in a situation as a child that no child should ever be put in.
Yeah.
With abuse, with drug use, with bad figures, all this stuff that should never happen. And the man I know today, I mean, you're the first guy I ever met who ran 3 charities, right? Like you've done so much. So I'm foreshadowing a little bit because I want to make sure that people understand this is not a sob story.
No.
This is anything
It's
but a
really-
sob story. This
really
is the
come
American
full circle
dream.
in 2012.
Yeah, this is the American dream. I mean, what you've continue. We'll keep going.
I'll get through it because the big part is the flying part, and that comes up in 2012 big time. I've always had a love for flight. That's what I plan on doing before. So and we'll get into that. So gets arrested finally, goes to jail until after my senior year now. So he's kind of out of the picture. I actually moved to Dallas between my junior year and senior year to start playing for a baseball team there under Rusty Greer, ex-Rangers player.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved there, and I had a big growth spurt. I'm like 95, 97, left side of the mound. I'm every major league team is at every game. Every college scouts every game. Starting that summer, and it was kind of really late. I committed to LSU to be half football, half baseball, so I was going to be a tailback,
Really?
pitcher, outfielder for LSU.
How are you going to have any time?
I think when you do that, they kind of just take care of it.
Hey, Kate, would you just open YouTube chat, please? Thank you.
So we where were we at here? So right before my going junior center, I'm in Dallas. Right before I had left, I worked 2 jobs. So starting my junior year, my mother I ended up moving out. I didn't get along with her whatsoever. It was just bad, toxic relationship. I actually started living out of my truck at the baseball field.
This is the part of the story I was alluding to. Because I mean, you're 17 years old.
At this time, I'm 16.
You're 16.
16.
So I basically lived at the airport here, this airport,
Yeah.
from the time I was 16 on. But I go home to sleep. I would get up at before sunrise, get to the airplane, fly. I didn't have a driver's license.
This is your place.
Yeah, I didn't have a driver's license, but all my friends were here, all the skydivers and all the old airplane guys, and so I'd fly over here and I'd spend the day, and it would get dark and I'd fly home. And I just can't imagine not having the safety of home, but you did it. You lived literally out of the back of your pickup truck.
Yeah, I had a single cab F-150 that I called Green Bean.
So he's here in training this week, and I said, hey, what are you doing for lodging? And he's like, I'm going to sleep in my car. I was like, I got an RV you can stay in. I've got houses you can stay in. Like, what would be ideal for you? Like, I'm happy to do whatever would be good for you. And he's like, it's actually really kind of nostalgic.
Yeah, it is. I do that when I travel, and I said stay different places, but it brings me back to centered. I think that's huge. Something, one of the biggest lessons I've learned is being able to find that channel, that frequency that you vibrate on, that you resonate with, and always having a way to get back to that, a reminder, a trigger, a word. It could be a lot of things for a lot of different people.
But the big thing is recognizing that center is a place where you feel whole.
Yes.
And I think that most people don't recognize that they're constantly searching for what whole feels like, and that there's this part of us that will never feel complete until we accept ourselves for where we actually are.
And I think that's one of the most challenging things we can do. Like, I think that being honest with yourself is one of the most challenging things we can do in life, because it's really hard to say I have an issue or I have this. But I think there's also a huge power in being and having humility.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's why I say I'm an open book. And I've loved that, getting out into the entrepreneurial space and start seeing, like, there's so many like-minded people in that space and with that thought process that I love. Because I think it's contagious. I think we are who we are around. So going into junior year, I come back and I pull up to the house that my mother was living in. There's like 5 trash bags in the driveway. I pull up and start going through them. It's my stuff. She had moved to Louisiana. My brother had moved in with a friend of ours. And I just continued. I bounced around from a couple houses to houses. Fast forward senior year, I had 6 months before the MLB draft, and at this point I've already been told that I'm going to be a first rounder. I've already learned that where the slot that I'm going to get, which is I've been completely broke my entire life. My family's always been completely broke. There was a lot of times through my junior and senior year that I'm buying loaves of bread and eating loaves of bread and syrup and things of that nature. So learned that 6 months before I tear my ACL in playoff game football. So I'm like, all right, LSU is ecstatic because LSU has they think that there's no chance I'm coming to the school there because of the draft. They're just where they were at. But tear my ACL, start rehabbing. Luckily at this time I have nobody around, and the school athletic director and a family with the Waldrops actually ended up paying for all my expenses to get to Birmingham, helped me get surgery, which was incredible. I ended up coming back after ACL surgery in 3.5 months. Dr. Andrew, when I went up for my 3-month evaluation, he's like, no, you can't play, you can't do this. And I'm like, all right. So I get a note, doctor's note, and he left. So the biggest deal was, am I going to be a pitcher moving forward, or am I going to be an outfielder?
Right.
Well, he wrote no pitching through the line, so I couldn't black it out without seeing. But the playing the field was completely above, so I scratched it out and it was like no playing, and I actually had somebody help me like forge the whole note.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I ended up playing like 3.5 months out. I drove to Little Rock. A doctor gave me a cortisone shot under the table. I got a cortisone shot in my shoulder and my knee. My very first game back, I separate my shoulder.
Oh my God.
And at this point I'm like,
but you're still a first-round draft pick according to the world. The world knows you as a first-round draft pick.
First-round draft pick before the knee injury, before the shoulder injury. And happened within like 4 months. The shoulder injury happens 6 weeks before the draft. Jesus. Drove overnight to get a second series of shots at Little Rock, and then leave the next day. We're playing the state championship in Round Rock, Texas. Have practice at Baylor, finally get to Round Rock, and the draft is on. So they turn the draft on, first round. I get a call probably. I think Trout might have just gotten picked. And I get a call from Damon Oppenheimer, hey, Slade, we're going to take you as our first-round draft pick. 30 seconds later, which was really cool because
that's Yankees, right?
Yeah, for the Yankees. So I ended up being,
I don't know sports ball, but I know you played for the Yankees.
Yeah, so I got drafted in 2009, first round, 29th pick overall by the New York Yankees.
From living in the back of your truck, beaten up by your dad, to here you are, literally how many millions of kids throw a baseball and go, I want to be in the MLB?
A lot.
It's
I've been very, very fortunate. And I think that comes back to, you alluded on nonprofits and charities. I wouldn't be where I am today if I wouldn't have had incredible people around me that gave back to me when they didn't have to. Like, I had families take me in. I had families buy me clothes. I had families inviting me for Thanksgiving and Christmas and things of that nature. So when I look back at now coming, I got drafted, continued my partying, drinking, ended up sleeping through 4 or 5 games my very first week of spring training. I was a bouncer at the bar in Tampa as a first-round draft pick. I was a mess. And it was always in search of filling that gap, that void that I didn't have, and I never addressed. I always compressed everything.
Well, I think it's a problem for a lot of men.
Yeah.
Particularly if you've gone through trauma. It's easier to push it to the side and overcome it by pretending it doesn't exist, by not experiencing the trauma, the pain, the suffering. I think that's part of why I find so much value in working with people who learn to fly, because it forces you to see everything. It forces you to actually
entirely
experience
new
it.
perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
And get you out of your comfort zone. I think
Oh,
that's
hell
a
yeah.
huge piece. We get in these cycles and these modes in life where we say, hey, this is what we're doing, boom, 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 boom. We think regiment's really good. Regiment is good, and having a schedule and a
necessary.
routine, it's great. But you also, if you're always comfortable, you're not growing.
Nope. You got so my favorite YouTube channel, without a question, is Yes Theory.
Yes Theory, yeah.
You seen their stuff?
I have 100% snowboards and everything.
So Yes Theory has done, their whole concept is live discomfort. Like that's their concept. They're the only YouTube channel I've ever reached out to and said, hey, I want to take you guys flying.
Yeah.
I can't say anything else, but
No,
I love these guys. They are so impassioned, such good humans.
You hear that, Yes
Like-
Theory? Come fly.
We've been talking.
All right, good.
Yeah, so I'm super passionate about living discomfort because it's how we grow.
Well, even as a pilot, if we're always being safe, it's great to have it be safe, right? Our checklist, everything. But if we're never on the edge of being uncomfortable, are we truly the best pilots we can be? Because I don't believe we can.
No, absolutely not.
It's just, and I think that's getting in. So 2010 flies by. I'm doing this. I end up having to go to AA meetings. I slept through it. I mean, this scar, I broke into a house 3 months before the draft. Punched through a pane glass window. The lady, I woke up the next morning, looked down, and I have a huge bandage on my arm, and I'm at my buddy's house. And I wake up, I'm like, what is going on? Come to find out, I had been drinking, left the party because the cops showed up, ran 5 miles, punched through a window. Lady,
I kind of feel bad that you have a glass of rye in front of you. By the way, people have asked, how is it?
It's actually great. I haven't tried the second one. This is great. I'll let you know on the dad's hat.
Dad's hat's good.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, but the drinking has never been the issue. The issue is I never faced my traumas. I compressed them. I never looked at them. And until my divorce, I never truly looked at who am I as a person. I always, one up until 2014, I was a negative influence on everybody in my life.
I can't imagine you as that. Dude, you and I text until 2 o'clock in the morning talking about different ways we can help people, different ways that we can leverage nonprofits. You're one of the. I mean, I have a lot of people in my life who are a positive influence, but you're one of the almost annoyingly I have to make the world a better place, and I'm going to do it. Dadgummit, who's coming with me?
Yeah.
That's you. That's who you are.
Yeah, I'm stubborn enough to do it. I believe as individuals, we all have the potential to change the world. Yeah.
Nevada coming to steal a whiskey.
Thank you.
All right, so you go from living in your truck to first-round draft pick for the New York Yankees. You have a career in the Yankees that is fraught with injury.
7 surgeries.
7 surgeries. You had a career in the athletics fraught with injury. Then you went to minor leagues, and then you retired. And I'm going to jump forward some just for the sake of time. I think this would be a great, dedicated podcast. We should do this. Just
Told you, watch out. I talk too much.
No, I love it. I want to talk to you, and I want to talk to Jason, and I don't want to make Dan stay here till 3 a.m. Dan, if you get bored, you can just leave. But I think that you mentioned that in 2012, everything shifted.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk more next week with Nell and I about, we call this our year of healing, Nell and I. Because learning to overcome trauma, learning to overcome fear, learning to accept the things that have happened to us instead of kind of glossing over them. That's what I do. All of my experiences in my childhood, all of the bullying, the negativity, the family issues, I always just I lost my memory when I was 18. I had a bad accident, and or right before I turned 18, and I just kind of put it off. Hey, that stuff didn't happen. It doesn't matter. Thanks, Nevada. But it's so imperative that we learn to work through it. And for me, flying's always been the place that I felt safe. even when I'm unsafe,
You feel it.
it's where I feel safe.
It's your
it's
home.
where I feel whole. Yeah. So it's been a huge thing for me. Derek Trout, Nevada, his place is about 30 minutes from Tucker, so not far. So here you are, baseball star, which we still have to play catch just because. I mean, how many kids can say they played catch with a freaking MLB star? Come on now, like, I got to do it.
We can play catch anytime.
All right, it's going to happen. I want my kids to learn from you so they can say they learned not from dad, but from an MLB star.
Perfect. That would make me happy.
So in 2012, you discovered aviation. I know you always wanted to fly, but like, what made that such a pivotal life experience?
In 2011, 2012, I'm in Tampa. I'm on my third rehab, and I'm like, I've talked about flying my whole life. I wanted to do it in high school. That was my plan. And I finally was just like, I'm tired of talking about it.
Nice.
So I started waking up, being at the airport at 8 o'clock, flying until noon, doing grounds, things of that nature. It took me 4 months during season, and I got my private in end of August of 2011, actually.
That's amazing.
And that started expanding. Like when I got through all this stuff, I tried to escape, but when I was in the air, obviously not when I had the instructor with me, it was like, all right. But once I got my private and I really started getting out in the air and just flying and just seeing and enjoying the sights, and it started being therapeutic to me.
It is.
Yeah.
It really, especially now that you're flying paramotors, it becomes such a personal experience. Like in an airplane, I love it, but I'm a systems operator trying to pay attention to everything that's happening with the aircraft, paying attention to everything that's happening outside, pay attention to all my ADSB in, ADSB out, like everything, talking to control. There's so many demands.
There is.
When you fly a paramotor, you may not be there yet, but there's a moment where all of a sudden it goes, I got it. And not just do you have it, you have it locked in. You don't have to think. Like when I fly, thought is gone.
It's become second nature.
I'm fully in a different nervous system. It's a meditative state. I don't have to think through like when I drop my trims, when I make a turn, it is completely natural. It's as easy as breathing, and it allows my brain to go, because there's a billion. I mean, you run businesses. I run 2 businesses, and Aviator and the Aviator Foundation. And like, there's a never-ending to-do list. But the moment my feet leave the ground, it's like, oh God, this is why. This is why I was born.
Today was the first day that I really like stowed my brakes and just sat there and just flew around. And I've had an absolute like this is just like you said, this is the Harley of the sky. This is the sport bike of the sky. Like you're feeling everything. You're feeling the bumps. You're like, I love that. But today being able to like really see the sunset and get up in the air, and it was unbelievable night. Just reminding me all over again, like looking down and seeing AJ doing foot drags, and I'm like, this is absolutely incredible. And
I told you you had to do it.
Yeah, like I'm like, but also like I was sitting up there looking and thinking about how like this sounds cheesy, but like appreciative that I have that the instructors you have here and how great the classes have been, the guys that we're flying with, like everybody has been so awesome. And you talked about it when we first came in, like this needs to be a family.
It has to be.
Right? And I think that's the model that so many people miss, that final piece of, if you're not bringing your community with you, are you truly making a change, or are you just being selfish?
Right.
There's definitely, you have to be in the green, and you have to be able to function. You have to do this, but why can't you give back? Why can't you have that model? Right. And like seeing AJ down there and seeing that, I'm like, we also have the responsibility and the blessing to say, we should share this with the world.
Yeah.
Like we should share this with everybody.
Well, and that's a big part of it. To me, that's why Aviator was founded. At the time that Aviator was founded, I had a burgeoning YouTube channel that was growing like crazy. I was actually making good money with it at the time. I had a photography business that was booming. I was flying all over the world to do cool video or photo shoots, and someone asked me to help him learn to kite because he saw me flying and thought it was cool. And you'd think that you teach a guy to kite, and it's a guy I'd never met before. His name's Brian Coker. And over the period of a few months that I helped him learn to kite, and we're kiting at the chalet, my family's runway, and it's it's work.
Which is great over there.
Yeah, but it's like rotor everywhere, and it's work, and we're kiting an old crappy freaking wing, and as we sit there in between kiting sessions, and suddenly this struggle of learning something new that's physically challenging, extremely mentally challenging, it opened him, and he started sharing parts of himself with me that you don't share with people.
Which is powerful.
Yeah,
That's huge.
it's the challenges. It's like this conversation we're having. Like, most people don't share their struggles with their family or their wife or their job, or like most people don't share this stuff, and that
we wonder why we feel so lonely.
well, that's the thing. Like Brene Brown says in Dare to Lead, she talks about the fact that it was a general, I believe it was a general in the Air Force who turns to her troops and says, "How many of you feel lonely?" And 2/3 of the room raised their hand. And the reality is, all of us are lonely. Why is social media so prevalent? Why do people who are hurt or broken spend so much time on it? Because it gives us this false sense of connection.
Yes.
Right? No offense to all of you wonderful people watching this, but like, you're here because you want to feel like you're a part of something. You're listening live and chatting in here because you're a part of something. And we're all lonely. All of us. There's not a day in our life where we don't feel that. It's Christmas Eve. I'm sitting here in my office. Christmas Eve. We gave the staff the week off. So I spent 4 days in the office waiting for shipments to arrive that were coming from Italy and France and places that we had to have them arrive. And everyone else is off work. So, it's my job. Like, I come to work. I sat in my office and I realized, like, Marcus, who was in the seat before you, Marcus is my best friend. And I stopped pouring into our relationship. I stopped being a good friend because Aviator had taken so much. My family life has taken a lot. We'll talk more about that next week with Nell. It's been a really tough year. And I realized how lonely I felt. Normally this place is burgeoning with activity. There's so much going on all the time. There's one wheels in and out. There's people talking. There's so much happening. And I realized, like, man, I am genuinely lonely. It's like I have let my friendships die to support my family and my business, and that's not fair. Yeah, don't just barge in, Nevada. You got ice. Just barge in. So like, it was one of those things. Like, I think that the reality of recognizing we need connection is so imperative. So you learned to fly. You got your private. You decided to go further because you were still playing in the minors at the time, right?
Yep.
So you're still playing in the minors. What made you decide to shift from minor league ball because of all your injuries, because you were in the majors and had to go to minors because of your injuries? What made you decide to shift from that to being a commercial pilot?
Look, I believe words are powerful. I call myself obsessively passionate.
I can see that.
And that is a word that resonates on a higher frequency, in my opinion, of being an extremist. I retired for a couple reasons. One, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I knew from 2000 when I soloed.
Yeah.
I honestly, I knew when I soloed that this is what I like. Baseball was going to take up this portion, a very small portion. It's been 20 years. The rest of my life will be revolving around flight of some sort. It'll also be serving people and helping people. But I knew without, like, people ask me all the time, do you miss playing? Yeah, sure. Like playing in Rogers Center and you're playing against the Blue Jays and it's whoever wins the division or this series wins the division. And yeah, there's awesome moments like that. But there were so many times when I walked out on a baseball field that I'm like, should I really be here? Am I respecting this game that I love so much?
Do you think it's imposter syndrome? Like, you didn't, because like, for me as an entrepreneur, I was working with one of my mentors, Luke Gifford, phenomenal guy. He's taught me to meditate, taught me how to dive into myself and understand my own issues. And we're sitting down and we're having a conversation. And I told him, I said that for me, it's been a really big dramatic shift from feeling like, as a business owner, a small business, I have always been the groundskeeper. Like, I'm
Dad's hat's where it's at.
Dad's hat's where it's at.
The red, the rye's really good, smooth. I like this.
I can't wait to
I
try
like
it.
It has like a pop.
I didn't
Sorry,
realize it was coming tonight, or
Yeah.
I would not have poured myself a 2-finger pour, a 3-finger pour. No, so like, for me, I've had to shift from being the groundskeeper, the manure cleaner, the guy who's keeping the place moving, to recognizing the fact that I own the house, right? So I have to allow Kate to ship product. I have to let Dan sit here with his beautiful dog, Duke. I have to allow
Beautiful
people
dog.
to do their jobs, and I felt like an imposter. I felt like I didn't deserve to have people do those things. Do you think that as an MLB player, was it something that you didn't deserve it, or was it that you just didn't feel like you were doing enough justice to it?
So in order for me to play, there's a couple things that went into it. One, I had to be okay with seeing my son 8 days out of every month.
Nope. I'm
so
out.
that was one challenge, because in order for me to do, I had the ability, like my ex-wife, it had nothing to do. It had to do with me. Like I can't fly my 4-year-old 2 times a month to me. Like that's just a lot to put him through.
Oh yeah, it is.
And he travels all the time. He's an unbelievable traveler. I did our first flight together not too long ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
That
Dude,
day I got emotional.
My 8-year-old flew me home from Denellen last week.
My son would want to.
I legit like. You see the picture of me smiling on Instagram, but I'm like crying. I'm because he held heading, he held altitude.
That's so awesome.
It was amazing.
But that being able to share that with him, like that was awesome to be able to do. We just get so. The one thing that flying has taught me is we get so caught up in our heads, and we realize, like for me, you're always looking, right? You're always trying to, but getting up there, like. There's nothing else. Like, you're just up there. It's you. It's the weather. It's the elements. And doing the courses I've done over there, I've been very fortunate enough to be able to do these courses where I'm starting aerobatics, where I'm doing off-field landings and flying old warbirds. Like, I flew to Oshkosh in a Beech 18.
I
Like,
know,
I'm
still jealous.
Yeah,
by the
that
way.
was so. Try to taxi that thing, and I'm not jealous at all.
See, I could see over enough, but like. It's really funny because Travis and I were looking for another airplane when he was my partner, and this beautiful Lockheed Electra came up for sale, and they kept dropping the price. It's like $900,000, $600,000, $400,000, and I'm like,
do I want it?
We can't afford the maintenance or the payment, but like, it's so beautiful. Like you own a piece of art.
Yeah,
like, and it's only gonna go up in value.
Yeah,
as long as you don't
only
ding it. 12 of them.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's in the teens.
I think it's
somewhere
12.
in there. Yeah.
It's just like, man.
But beautiful flying bird.
So I have a question for you I'm going to bring up in a minute, but I want to continue your story, and we'll jump back to the question. Jim, I promise I'll get back to you, my friend.
Oh, we can ask it.
No, let's keep going, because otherwise we'll lose focus.
Right.
This happened last podcast. Harley and I ADD'd each other to death. It was bad. It was really entertaining, I hope, but it was bad.
Right. It might have broke it up a little bit. All right.
So you have gone through all these courses. Obviously, we know how you came to paramotoring. We met. Had you ever seen it before?
I had never seen this before. I've seen paragliding before. I had never seen powered. Lake Sun and Fun was the first time. So I flew in Sun and Fun and camped with my son.
So you saw me before you ever met me. Okay.
And I didn't even put 2 and 2 together until you were flying. I knew that it was. I just didn't know it was Paradigm. Yeah, so we watched Lakeland, which was unbelievable because you had the storm in the background.
It was blowing 25 miles an hour.
Yeah, I can't. And now knowing that night, I'm like, I don't know how y'all were flying.
It was that, so because it's worth, anytime you can get an opportunity to share a fun flying story. So we talked about fly-ins earlier with Nathan, who was here. I go to a fly-in, and I trust everyone about 1%. I'm like, okay, you're in the air. I trust you 1%. I trust my Paradigm teammates 105%.
You have to.
You have to. And they like, Doran can literally rip a barrel roll 6 feet in front of me, and I know he knows where I am. And he does it frequently enough that it actually is not scary anymore. It's still slightly terrifying, but but like the conscious mind fear, the subconscious mind is like, oh shucks, the conscious mind is like, it's Doran, we're cool. So we briefed, we walked a show. We had to change our show completely because we're not going to go up and do acro when it's blowing 23 gusts 25 or whatever it was that night. And we have this plan, like we're going to put the pylons up, and the air boss and the air show director were both very clear. Like, hey, if you guys can't fly, we get it. You got to be safe. But if you can't fly, it totally screws us over. Like, our timeline is totally effed.
All right,
because we're the only
that's a great pressure
post-Twilight show that could fly in that slot. So they're like, so we'll just have a 12-minute downtime, and everyone will sit around and listen to music and be really bored. And I was like, well, if we can fly, and it was laminar air, it was very, very smooth for as windy as it was because it's it's Florida, it's flat.
Yeah.
Like at Oshkosh, we had 40 knot gusts at 1,000
Slosh
feet.
kosh.
Slosh gosh. We decided not to fly, and the Patriot parachute team called it. Like everyone called it that night except for the RC guys, and the Bush pilots because Bush pilots. But we no, actually I think they called it also. I don't remember. Anyway, I'm sorry, ADD. So we decided to fly, and we practiced our thing, and we're all sitting out there, sitting down in the motors. Motors are running. We're waiting for our call to fly, and we get the call. Paradigm, go. And I stood up, revved up my motor. Everything's good. It's running smooth. And I remember grabbing one of my A's, outside tip A, left side, and I go, dink, and it goes, swap. And it comes up, and I get picked up. And I'm about 20, 30 feet from where I was standing. I'm flying backwards, right? I get control of the wing. I had a 60% collapse, pops back out. I land, still facing backwards, turn around, take off. And we fly our show. And everything's great. Like, we do a great, like I have to say, like, so much appreciation for the talent that my teammates have because they are so freaking talented. Like, I mean, I flew my show, and I remember at one point we were doing a low pass. And the lights we got, this is the first show with the new lights. And
Those things.
So bright.
Yeah.
They're so bright. It was like
super sick though for a spectator.
Yeah. So it's like landing lights. And I'm coming in, I'm like, should I just land? Like, it is so windy. I'm doing like 3 miles an hour forward speed, maybe 10, just so slow. And I was like, maybe I'll just land and we'll call the show short. But no, we finish it out. We do our stack. And then we're on the radio with Javi, who's our high acro guy for this show. His first show we worked with him. We worked with both of his brothers before, and Javi is known as kind of the reckless guy. He's like, hello, I am at 1,800 feet or 600 meters, and it is smooth. I do infinity. And we're like, dude, it's blowing 60 up there. And he freaking, he throws down an infinite tumble.
I saw it.
At 1,800 feet, and he starts 4,000 feet this way and ends 8,000 feet that way. And we're like, Javi, you have to land. Javi, you have to land. The next act is launching. And he's like, what? I cannot hear you. I'm infinity. So he eventually lands like way at the end of the field. And we
And anybody that doesn't know, an infinity is where he's literally doing this.
Yeah, he's doing a backflip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
nuts.
So that was your first exposure. We meet, we hang out. We drink bourbon, and then fast forward, Oshkosh, you sign up for training. Walk me through, because, like, quite frankly, I feel like a terrible person because, like, my buddies in class, all of his classmates are cool as hell. Yeah. They're over there. And I haven't spent much time with you guys this week because it's been a chaos week. What has been your experience through the class?
I know, like, I've never experienced a class before, but, like, to be no joking, like, these guys are killing it.
Yeah.
Like, and another thing, like, there's been some guys that have had, like, everybody, like, you run it. That's what's so cool about flying, too, as well, is because it's so humbling, right? Like, yesterday I ran out of gas. Like, that's purely on me, right? Like,
it was awesome. I looked down the field about 5,000 feet down the field, and I see this guy walking with a wing over his shoulder and a motor on his back, and I was like, I think that's Slade, because I was looking at all of the wings in the air because Nell was flying, or no, Nell wasn't flying last night, but I'm watching it for everybody, and I was like, I think that's Slade. I see orange. That must be Slade. So I hop on the UTV and I drive down to pick you up. I get there. I'm like, you okay? You okay? He's like, yeah, I wasn't going to call for a ride because I ran out of gas, and that's on me.
Yeah, it's on me. I should have to walk back.
He's like, I'm that guy.
Yeah,
I'm that guy.
I think I made a call before, and I was like, everybody check your gas. But no, like, we're going to have mess-ups in life. Like, we're going to have obstacles we're always going to face, right? Like,
sure.
Always. So we're going to face weather. We're going to do that. But, like, being a pilot teaches you, like, if you get away with it once, learn. Don't and I think that's powerful. One thing that flight has taught me and aviation has taught me is, like, in life we can mess up, right? We can mess up once. But when we start making the same repetitive mistakes in life, in flying, like, we're now throwing our life. It's the same thing with everyday decisions. Like, in a plane, we're playing with our life, right? At any particular time, we compound issues, we compound problems. Now we're in trouble, right? Same thing in life. We can make daily decisions that influence our next day. We can't control, like, so much anxiety in life, so much issue, so much scared, understandably. But we have to step out of that, and we have to step past that. We have to realize that if we want to make a change, if we want our lives to look a certain way, people, we have to do it. We have to make the decision to do it because nobody else is going to do it for us.
100%.
And if you're going to do it, bring somebody with you because you know what?
Yes.
You can't do anything in life on your own. We have that pride, that complex, that ego, whatever it might be, telling us that we can do something on our own. No. If you get to I have a saying, if you are at the summit of life and you're by yourself, you're in a mirage in the middle of the desert because you cannot get to the top of the mountain without having somebody else.
If you get to the summit and you're by yourself,
You're in a mirage in the middle of the desert.
Because you can't get to the summit without someone else.
We don't do this life. We don't. True sustainability, right? When we look at a model, a business model, a friendship, everything, it has to be full circle.
Yeah.
We get 3/4 of the way sometimes. We forget about that last piece because it takes an effort. No, if you want your life to look something, take control of it. Bring the people around you. Sometimes that's really hard. Sometimes that means that you don't listen to your family that loves you and is telling you out of the goodness of their heart, don't do this. You're the only person in life that can say what you're supposed to do.
Amen.
You have to do that. How many times have you been told don't fly at PPG, don't do whatever? Like we always get told.
If you listen to the people, the naysayers, and you don't accept the potential for joy. So like I think of joy and happiness are very different.
Yes.
Happiness is something that we experience short-sightedly. It's something that I used to remember all the root words of these in Latin because I was a homeschool dork. But happiness.
No, you weren't a dork.
No,
you were
I was.
a unique.
No, so happiness in its entirety, in its Latin core, is this idea of a passing fancy, right?
Momentary happiness.
Joy is something that we experience deep inside of our subconscious and our heart, and it's something that we cannot contain. So happiness can be something that we experience for ourselves. Happiness can be something that we, I liken it to, and I talked about it in the last intro class in Denellen, is like men often, when they feel a sense of emptiness, they fill it with something unhealthy, whether it's porn, addiction, whatever it is. They fill it with something unhealthy that brings them happiness. But true joy is not something that's just for yourself. It's for you to spread across the world because that joy is so much bigger than you can ever be.
Yeah.
So you found aviation to be your joy.
It is.
Just because it sounds like the marketing in me, I'm going to go ahead and ask. Tell me about your experience in learning to fly paramotors, and then I want to talk about your charities, and then because it's now like,
sorry guys,
late. No, I love this. I would like. We should just do like a self-help / oh God, we don't have it together, but we sure as hell are trying podcast.
Isn't that everybody?
Yeah, dude, I had this conversation. Recently had a conversation with my parents because I lost a lot of memory. My memories were gone after having a brain injury. I'm having conversations with my parents about my childhood because I had never been an inwardly focused person. I've always been an outwardly focused person trying to help others, trying to serve. Like that's how I was raised. And over the last 6 months, 12 months, I've been focusing more and more of my energy inwardly to understand myself better, understand what motivates me. And through meditation, through understanding, I've started to see a lot of what happened to me. I'm starting to remember things. And it's created some wonderful conversations with my parents because my parents are saints. They raised me.
Your dad's great.
My mother's incredible as well. And to hear them explaining how they didn't have it together, as a parent of 3 young children, desperately struggling to figure out how to parent my 5-year-old who 45 minutes after asking 5 to 7 times within that 45 minutes still hasn't picked up her pillows, right? Like it's such a simple thing. This morning was 30 minutes to put on one sock. How I certainly don't have it together, but hearing from my parents, who I look at as having it all together, because good God, my parents are incredible.
Right.
Married 40 years, they're amazing. They didn't feel like they had it together. No one has it together. And so I just think it's an interesting perspective. So anyway, I got on another rabbit trail.
Well, no, because I think that, like, that's what we live. That's what younger generations, that's what your generation, that's what older generations all say to ourselves, right? Like, that's why Instagram, you alluded on earlier, like Instagram is this fake perception, an unbelievably powerful tool used in the direct and channeled in the right way. Awesome tool.
Yep.
But we create this false perception that we have to have things together. That is not life. People, if you're struggling with porn, if you're struggling with drinking, if you're struggling with being lonely, guess what? There's a million people out there that are doing
Billions.
the same thing.
Yep.
The exact same struggle. And it's such an isolating feeling. I know personally, right? Like, I'm struggling with this, but I'm keeping it all in because I'm scared somebody's going to judge me. I'm scared somebody's going to think something of me because that's all we care about with social media and all this. No. Instead, that balled up feeling, how great is it that you're like, when you're in a point where you've lied, every person's done this, right? You build up a lie, and it's like you're always on the run, you're always going, and the stress and anxiety.
Yeah.
And then you finally just do it, and it's like, oh, that wasn't a big deal at all.
Yeah. Well, we build up anxiety. If anyone is hearing this, hang on, I have to sneeze.
Bless you.
One more.
Bless you. And if you're wanting some dad's hat, contact Nevada.
All right. So if you're building all this stuff up, if this stuff identifies with you and you're interested in the journey of it, Noah and I are going to talk more about some of the stuff that's not paramotor related, that the paramotoring has definitely helped both of us with.
Right.
I encourage you, and I recognize this is a paramotor podcast that has not been
Yeah, that's my
paramotor
fault.
related. No, it's not your fault. It's what I wanted. But there's a book that has literally changed my life. I have struggled with chronic back pain. I have 7 broken vertebrae. I have 5 herniated discs. I was at a point in my life where I couldn't take a full breath. I couldn't pick up my kids. I couldn't do anything. This system really helped me, and whether you believe it or not, it's up to you. I was willing to try anything. It's a book called The Emotion Code. I found an emotion code practitioner that helps you work on releasing stored emotions. I'm not going to go into details now because it sounds woo-woo and weird. But if you struggle with chronic pain or with chronic despair or depression or anything else, consider it. The other one resource I'd recommend you look into if you have an open heart is to look at masterheart.com or KristaBlackGifford.com. Those are my personal mentors who are helping grow me personally. These are people who you're going to go through the Master Heart course, whether you like it or not. If I have to pay for it, it has been these things that we look at in life, because flying is an incredible tool to help us recognize ourselves. And if you choose to allow it, there's so much more that we can grow into. So, 11 minutes ago, I think it was actually 6-ish. I count in my head a lot. I think I'm way off count. We talked about your experience coming here and training. I loved your Instagram post. You said that you've been through all these different courses over the last couple of years of learning, get your commercial license, aerobatics, backcountry, all that stuff. What has Aviator been like for you? Only because I want to have the testimonial in writing or in video so I can type it up later. Just go ahead.
It's a family.
It's a family.
It's a family.
What's flying feel like?
A sense of freedom. Even being in a plane, like I get that sense of feeling, right? Like I get that sense of freedom. Like there's never been, like, you know, earlier I was alluding to the fact of, you know, I retired and people ask me all the time, have you ever missed it? There were so many times where I walk up to the plate in the last 2 years of my career and I'm like, should I really be here? Like, I'm okay, and I have accepted the fact that I can be away from my son for a small set of period for a bigger picture. But then it got to a point where if I'm questioning it, is that really what I want to do? When I would leave this summer and go to do aerobatic school or do all these courses, there was never a time in my life that I questioned going. I never was like, is this time? Because I can swallow the fact that I'm going to miss 20 days here with my son if there's a bigger picture. Because what I want my son to realize or to know from my personal opinion is it's not about how long we're on this planet. It's about why we're on this planet. And I want my son to realize that it's not always about just being safe. It's about living life. And being in a PPG and feeling the wind and feeling like several flights, like you feel the wind and like today was a huge stepping stone for me, like just comfort wise and feeling. But like before that and now looking back, like all the bumps in the air, everything, like you're just you.
Yep.
Right? Like everything in life, we talk about everybody else. That's my time.
Yeah, that's why I love surfing. It was this opportunity to be one with nature in a whole new way. And now flying paramotors is like surfing in the sky.
I've loved this course because, one, I love meeting people. And everybody, whatever, I can say this, like the guys in this course, like you guys have been awesome. Like we've been hanging out, like,
Hoorah.
yeah, like you guys have been awesome. And seeing it, like even Steven, like seeing him like struggle a little bit, and then on the trike now, seeing him light. Like I'm watching a video earlier of watching him drive the trike down the taxiway the very first time, and he's like, like that's so awesome to see, to be able to see, like what I was saying earlier, like when we're in the air and we see it, how beautiful it is, and then it came on and like we have the responsibility to share this,
Yes.
and then be able to look back and see that, like. This is so much bigger than just one activity. It's so much bigger than just paramotoring. It's about a sense of freedom. It's about building a community. You lead it
100%.
on Earth. Like we're watching this show. We're on Instagram. We're on this because we want to belong to a sense of community. Well, here it is. Like these courses, these guys, everybody being around, it's a family. It's a bigger picture. Like I can see myself talking with all these guys and staying in that. And that's what's been awesome about the Aviator course is you guys really promote that. Like, and the instructors, like I've flown with guys that like I will never fly with again in my life. And
Not
like,
here, right?
Right. No, that's great. But everybody's been super understanding. Everybody's been super instructional, super safe. Like being able to see that and realize and trust, like it builds a bond and a trust. Like that's what this does. Like you talked about it with Paradigm. You have to have that trust. You have to have that bond. Like, and getting up in the air and us flying today, like what was there, like 10 kites in the air today? 14 kites. Like, yeah.
There's more last night.
Super cool, though. Like, we're all up there sharing a perspective.
Right.
A freedom. A stepping out of our zone. Like, each one of this, it means something different. But in the big picture, it's bringing us all together.
100%. 100%. I mean, all right, so I love it. I freaking love
You
it.
need to kick me off of here.
No. All right, just really quickly, because we always try to do good through this.
Oh, there was a question, too. What was it?
There's actually a couple of questions.
Okay.
I'm going to hit Kevin Can Fly. You want to be an instructor at Aviator, contact us. Contact Chris, Chris, at aviatorppg.com. He is in charge of hiring for our schools. We are certainly looking for instructors. In fact, I think out of the class of 8 people, my father,
You better
one of
leave a
them,
spot for me.
I'm pretty sure 6 of them are coming back to work for us. I'll let you guys decide which 2 aren't. We were certainly looking to hire some incredible instructors and people who are passionate about flight and passionate about sharing it. One of the things at Aviator that's really important to me, that's part of my heart, is that our last rule, we have 5 rules, our last rule, and possibly the most important, in fact, I think they're all the most important, don't fly into stuff is one of the rules, and that's pretty important. The 5th rule is to give back. And so you had the opportunity with a Major League career, Major League Baseball career, New York Yankee. I was never a Yankee fan, but come on, you have to love them. You have to love them, though. Like, dude, the record.
Jeter, like seeing Jeter and how consistent he was is incredible.
Yeah.
It was an incredible blessing.
For me, it was Cal Ripken as a kid. I love following Cal.
That's a record that'll never be beat.
Yeah, I hope not.
There's no chance in the world. Like that's a bet I'll put on any.
Really?
Name them out. Nobody will ever play that amount of games in a row ever again.
The guy was my hero as a 10-year-old, right? A 10-year-old with no depth perception, by the way. So I wanted to talk a little about our concept of giving back. Our concept of giving back is, of course, we have a school. We do the YouTube stuff. We do this show. But I also wanted to highlight what you do, because you have a heart for sustainability that's pretty empowered, and you've done a lot of work to bring, and this is something that most people don't think about. Like, we try to bring the paramotor community together behind Resurgence, behind the Aviator Foundation. You've brought a community. So paramotor pilots are generally not MLB stars. They don't have that budget. They don't have that income. You are trying desperately to work with the MLB Foundation to bring these guys together to do great things. Do you want to kind of give a brief pitch of what that's about?
Yeah, just in terms of how I want to tie the aviation world into it.
You could do that, or explain what you're doing now, and then give a
So I have 3 organizations. First one, and we'll just do chronological order. 2014, me and my buddy John Ryan Murphy, catcher with Pittsburgh Pirates this year, and a lady named Catherine. Catherine went through a crazy transition period in life. She D1 college full ride athlete, soccer, Olympic reserve because she's still 17. Like, she's really good.
Wow.
Collapses one day and is paralyzed. Out of nowhere, in the middle of practice, collapses. She's completely paralyzed. She can talk, and that is it. She can't move any limb, nothing.
What the heck?
8 hours later, she starts being able to move her foot. Ends up, after a day, comes back. They start traveling around to doctors. 24, over a year later, she ends up, fast forward 3 years, she ends up her senior year being the first D1 athlete to ever overcome. So she ended up having a brain aneurysm and a rare form of MS. So Catherine started training from her junior year, 2 years of not playing and training, and ended up coming back and be able to play. She would have to sit on ice for 3 and 4 hours at a time to get the swelling to go down so she could feel her extremities.
And she has MS. She's in the barometric chamber as well. I lost her for the MS.
And so in 2014, we're like, our passion's always been kids, right? My passion in life personally is kids, because I think if we want to influence the world, we influence the generation coming into the world, and kids are impressionable. So we started talking, let's create a foundation and Catherine and John Ryan, they come to me, which was a great blessing. This is the first time I got asked, they're like, they put this whole plan together, and they're like, hey, Slade, do you want to be a part of it? I'm like, yes. So the idea is we were growing, we actually have to hire staff now. It's been really awesome. We have 8 states. We work with several hundred kids, but the idea is we go in and create a dream to make it possible, which is awesome because I want to tie it into aviation, because I want a kid in our organization to come and fly with Aviator. So that's one of my goals. But what we do is we go in and make not only what the kid wants to come true, but we make a dream come true for the family, because so many times younger siblings, older siblings, parents, as you said earlier, you got to figure out it's extremely stressful to have a kid for 30 minutes trying to get them to put their shoe on or sock on, right? And then what's the right way to do it?
There's no right answer,
right?
Is the problem.
So,
I'm pretty sure there's no right answer.
Yeah, there isn't. So we go through these times where we forget about the bigger picture. So our organization comes in, and we also stay connected to every kid. So we get an insert. We go out. We find 2 parachutes in the community that want to stay connected, and we always stay connected with every kid.
What's it called?
IamMore.us is the website.
IamMore.us.
So I Am More.
What's the second one?
So Players for the Planet. It is an organization that brings athletes together for sustainability. Our first project, we have a couple. We have E-Waste program, which we're launching with 6 major league teams this year on Earth Day to celebrate Earth Day 50th year anniversary.
Wow.
We're in discussions with Nike for a bigger picture that I've been working on.
Nike, say yes. Come on now.
Oh, we have already gotten the yes, so that is we got that last week.
Awesome.
We're coming under the umbrella of Green Sports Alliance, which is a huge organization building stadium. So we have a motto in the DR. Those that don't know, DR has a huge baseball population, a huge megaphone in the DR to shift a culture. We for the last 14 months, I put together a plastic recycling program to set up an infrastructure as well as create a currency behind plastic using baseball to spread the message.
Wow.
So we're able to incentivize people in the DR, create 4,000 to 6,000 jobs over the next 2 years, and also take care of their plastic issue, which is a huge problem. We have that. We partner with the Tampa Bay Rays with Swell to create bottles. Our estimates show that for every year, a major league club uses about 2.2 million water bottles.
Jeez.
That's
I thought we used a lot here before we switched to renewable stuff.
We just partnered with the Nature Conservancy and Brent Suter and the ecology program in Milwaukee. To start two programs, 1 billion trees, 1 million kids. We want to plant 1 billion trees, and we want to involve 1 million kids. We're launching that on Earth Day this year, and we're also launching a strikeout urban wasteland. So we'll go in and buy commercial property in inner cities that have been dilapidated, abandoned, whatever, and we'll turn them into community gardens and create a model behind that to not only create jobs but also feed homeless, to feed people that are in need.
That's so cool.
So Players for the Planet does a lot of things like that. The Nike vision that I have is I want a MLB All-Star jersey made of recycled plastic.
That would be Totally cool.
Not only that, we are partnering.
I almost said something else, but I couldn't say it. I was like,
We are partnering with Green Sports Alliance and Nike to make that possible, as well as a zero-waste Little League field. So we want to build a Little League field that has a water retention plan. Instead of using concrete dugouts, we're going to bring in shipping containers and use dugouts for shipping containers.
you should do this in Lycoming County, where the original Little League field is. That would be so cool to do it next door.
We're shopping areas. We're talking to the Hall of Fame about doing it.
I have some people that I can introduce you to there that would love it.
You know I like meeting people.
Yeah, I know you do. This guy knows more people than I do, and that's saying something.
So Players for Penny does that.
And
I also have More Than Baseball, which is one of the reasons why I ended up retiring. Initially, I took a stance against ownership. I pissed off a lot of ownership and was warned to keep my mouth shut about minor league rights. I ended up retiring. I did 6 months of backpacking and up in northern northern United States, right on the Canadian border, all the way down. And when I was doing that, I was like, I stood up in the social media not to piss off ownership, but to make a difference in minor leaguers' lives. A lot of people don't realize minor leaguers make about 75% of minor leaguers this year made under $8,500. So people have no idea. That's not paying for equipment. That's not paying for food, clubhouse dues, things like that. So I started an organization called More Than Baseball. We now work with MLB, MLBPA. We just signed our first corporate sponsor, because my argument is there's plenty of money to be made without taking money out of ownership's pockets by working with ownership, working with teams, working with MLBPA, and bringing the baseball community together.
This is kind of like what we've seen with college football.
Yes.
And in basketball and everything else, where you have these guys who are unable to sign a contract despite their fame,
right,
their skill and everything else. They aren't able to sign a sponsorship contract, but I believe that just changed.
It just changed the NCAA, which opens up a lot of arguments because now you're going to have college athletes getting paid more than professional athletes. Right. So it brings up a whole nother model. But my point is same thing, that 3/4 of picture. There's plenty of groups out there. I've had organization come out like, let's start a union. Why not just bring everyone together? Like, why go at it in a way where we bring lawyers in, we do all this? Great for you. Like, I'm glad y'all are doing that. I'm going to go this way. And
the only person that makes money is the lawyer.
Right. and through that backpacking, I realized, like, I'm here to help players. So we set this organization up to help minor leaguers right now. We just got our first corporate sponsor of $60K, which was huge because everybody told me this is impossible. It's never going to happen. And my point was there's money to be made for players to give back, even in small things.
100%.
We lose sight of what $1 or $2 or $5 can do so much when we look at a bigger picture. So More Than Baseball helps minor leaguers. So those are the 3 nonprofits I have. And then obviously I have my coffee shop, which is a B Corp, and then media company as well now.
Too cool, man. All right. I was going to bring Jason on. I think let's make a video out of it tomorrow. What do you think, Jason? Make a video tomorrow instead?
Perfect.
Beautiful. All right. So
I feel bad. I did all the talking.
No. It's good because this is a 2-hour freaking episode, which is pretty cool.
Time flies.
But we're going to bring Jason on tomorrow. We're going to do a video about learning to fly at Aviator, what it's like to come as a fixed-wing pilot, and the legalities of being a paramotor pilot in Canada, because it's something that we have tons of questions about, and if we can make a great video out of it, it'd actually be better than the podcast. We can leave this up. We'll do this tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Beautiful. All right. Whew. Before we punch off,
was there any questions we need to answer?
I have one for you.
All right.
From Jim CR120. He says, question for Slade. Any advice for others struggling with their past? Do you have close relationships that help?
We all have struggles, right?
We
all are going to have obstacles. We talked about that before. We're always going to be dealt cards.
Yes.
We can't control what cards we're going to be dealt, but we can control how we play them.
100%.
The biggest step that you can take, and it's going to be super uncomfortable, and there's 2 options. You go to somebody and you talk in therapy, and we talk about, especially for men, like therapy is such a thing we avoid.
The thing that cracks me up is like therapy is this thing that has this bad vision, like you're broken
not.
to go. Dude, if you're not, like, realistically, a therapist is phenomenal because it's someone you can trust what they say. And you can trust that what you say is private. Yeah. I've always had mentors and friends, therapists, that have been incredible in my life. I'm not ashamed to say it. I'd never seen a therapist before
I was
in my
ashamed
life.
until 2014, and then my divorce made me finally accept, hey, why don't I go talk to somebody?
Yeah, I'd never been to a therapist. I went, we'll tell more of the story next week. I went with my wife for some of her struggles, and it was so uplifting for me to have perspective from a trained professional. And I think
bet.
it's something that is shut down. I mean, Aviator, like one of my favorite things is somebody, I won't say who because they're in AA and it's anonymous. He said, this is just like an AA meeting except with more booze. I was like, it's a great description because we're not just here to fly. We're here to do so much more. We're here to better understand ourselves.
We're here to live.
Yeah.
We're here to live.
So continue. Sorry.
Yeah,
I cut
no,
you
you're
off.
fine. Go talk to somebody. For me, personally, the most powerful thing, look, after my divorce, I learned, like, there were so many things said. There was a lot of emotions, a lot of things going on, a lot of people speculating.
Right.
The most powerful thing I did was I never defended myself. I never once said this, because the reason why is I wanted to figure out who was around me, who had me in their center, right? Like, in my life, from the moment I signed, I'm sorry, but, like, when you come across money, life changes. It's totally different. Every person that comes up is one. Like, I had family members come up. I've had 3 people that are close to me in my life that haven't come and asked me for money of some
So
sort.
can I have some money?
No.
Now it's 2.
The most powerful thing you can do is, and my defense to the other side of this, but I'll say it first. Why wouldn't you go sit down with your best friend? Go sit down with somebody that you trust and say, this is my issue, because the biggest hurdle you're going to face is getting it out. Get it out to somebody.
Now,
make a video. I don't care if you make a video and send it to somebody.
You can be posting on YouTube that no one watches.
Doesn't matter.
One of my challenges, like I have very close friends who don't have any friends in their own mind. And
In their own mind.
in their own mind, they don't have any friends. They don't have people who trust them. They don't have closeness. They don't have they don't even have proximity.
I wonder if that comes from a separation.
So what I've discovered is that I like to. So Brene Brown's one of my favorite authors. She leads this idea of be open. Don't be toxically open. There are people who are toxically open. There are people who are too open that it becomes a negative thing because it becomes all about them. But my staff know when I've had a bad day. They can tell, but they also know because I'm willing to be open with it. Hey, this weekend was extremely emotional and extremely stressful for me. And even though I know that we did everything we possibly could to do everything right, that it's emotional and it was straining and terrible. And I got text messages from pretty much every single member of my team worried about me because they know that I'm going to be open with them and tell them what I'm experiencing, whether it's a personal issue or it's a business issue. I'm more than willing to be to take the first step, and most people aren't willing to take the first step. So if you don't feel like you have anybody, you may not have somebody because you're not willing to take the first step and say, hey, my life's crap right now. Here's why. How can I help you?
Yeah.
And that sounds like a really weird sequence.
No.
But if it takes going from being a victim to saying, my life's crap right now, and I understand that maybe you can help me with it, but that's not what I'm here for. How can I bless you? How can I, because I know the moment I choose to bless someone else, the moment you shift from that victim mentality to a servant mentality, your own crap doesn't matter as much.
Does it?
No.
Biggest thing I learned in 2014, like I told you, I was a negative influence on everybody.
Yeah, you said that.
And like I walked out. I was told November 24th of 2014 that I would never play another baseball game in my entire life. And 6 months later, I was in New York starting in center field. It's Jim, right?
Yeah, Jim.
Jim, reach out. I'll talk with you. I would be
Yeah.
happy to.
Yeah, same with me, Jim. And anybody else is in the chat. If you guys would like to follow Slade, he's on Instagram, Slade.Heathcott.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Instagram, yeah, I think Slade.Heathcott.
We're going to put it in the chat as well, but Slade.Heathcott. If you just Google, you can find a lot of information on Slade. You can find out about his life. You can find out about his career. But more importantly, what I want you to remember from Slade is 2 parts. One is that when you find your true passion, if you choose to have the courage
Yes.
to leave behind most people's dream or many people's dream, to follow your passion and to never forget to give back and to find a way to use your position to give back, to use your position to bless others even when they screw you over, even when things go wrong, even when it feels like you made all the wrong decisions, keep finding ways to bless others.
Keep stepping.
Keep stepping. All right. More on that next week. We've got some cool stuff to announce. But to look like it's Kate in Nevada in the chat of the primary mission here. But Jim, thank you for being here. Kevin, Brian Waller, Greg Torktoff, great to have you. Vertical Lines, Mark, always a pleasure. Guys, a wonderful show. Slade, thanks for being on.
Yeah. No, thank you for having me.
It's been fun.
Get better mentally, physically, spiritually, and bring somebody along with you every single day.
Amen. And whatever you can, or whenever you can, take time to push yourself to a point where you feel like you're uncomfortable, it's not safe. You always want to stay safe, but find a way to make yourself live a little more. For me, the last 2 weeks, my mission has been playfulness. How can I show my kids playfulness?
Which is love. That's
Which
what
is,
gonna...
to a child, it's pure love. And to my inner child, it's pure love. So shooting BB guns with my boys, playing catch with the boys, playing with Eloise and her dolls, whatever it is, I'm trying to find ways that I can show my children playfulness. And I think it's really important. Instead of driving my car, I ride the one wheel. Like, it's stupid little stuff.
But it's big.
But to, like, every couple of weeks, I kind of reevaluate, what do I need to do to make myself better today?
And I think that's huge. Like,
I think so too.
I never blow bubbles. I'm very upfront. I want to commend you on the fact that there's been multiple times where I'm like, hey, let's have a meeting, let's go talk, and you're like, no, I want to go spend time with my kids.
Yeah, sorry,
I
bro.
love that. No, you
It's
don't ever be sorry.
It's 7:30.
Right?
It's time to
Like,
go home.
But it's your family. Like, you are the center stone. Like, your wife is a huge part of that, right?
She's
Like,
incredible.
You wouldn't do what you do without her.
I can't. Dude, I can't wait to tell our whole story on the next podcast.
I can't wait to hear it.
I've never met another woman who would ever consider being as accepting as my wife is. She's nuts in a really good way.
Well, look in the past and look at what we talk about most men that have done something great have that counterpart that pushes them. Like,
100%.
It's your teammate. It's your
Even if it's not a
teammate in life.
spouse, it might be a friend. Like Marcus, who sat over here tonight, he has pushed me so much to value what I'm doing, to be there, to be and to help me recognize the value of our community. Like, we were in a Mardi Gras crew together for a few years. Like, we built these badass floats and we did really cool stuff, and it was all for charity. And it's like, it sounds silly, but like recognize, because when you get locked into a business as an entrepreneur, all you do is eat, sleep, and think, I have to work on the business, or I have to work on my family and the business. And getting outside of yourself is so powerful.
Well, in a person in your position and some of that, like, you have in your mind, and it's true, you have people's lives depending on what
100%.
your decisions you make. Like,
Yep.
that's a very beautiful,
But
very
terrifying.
powerful, and very terrifying realistic. And that's something that most people don't understand.
I lose a lot of sleep.
Yeah, of course, because you care. You want people around you the best, and that's something that you have to do. You have to take that step. You have to be willing and brave enough and courageous enough to say, this is what we're going to do, because this is what is going to be the best for the group.
Absolutely.
And that's a very tough thing to do. So I commend you for being the father you are, the husband you are, and the entrepreneur you are.
I'm trying, brother.
Don't try.
I don't
Just
have
do.
it. I don't have it
Don't
all
try.
together. That's for darn sure.
Nobody does.
Hey, Buzz says, shake his hand for me. Thank you, brother.
Buzz.
Somebody else asked if it was possible to get an autographed ball that was Kevin Can Fly. I want one first. My Ken Griffey ball is probably worth less. I don't have a Ken Griffey ball. I'm kidding.
Fine. If we can put it up there, anybody that reaches out to me, I will. If they send it to me, I send it back.
There you go, guys. All right. Huge shout out to Slade. Thank you to the entire February
you.
First Class. Salute. I'm going to try this whiskey in a moment. To all you guys in the chat land, thank you guys so much. I have a hope that this mission and this message has been able to share something special with some people listening, that they've been able to be inspired. I've been truly inspired by Slade and his desire to give back. And not only that, but like your rags to riches story, your desire to become something in a situation where most people would say, I am nothing. So thank you for sharing it. We'll do some more flying very soon. For those of you guys who don't know, we do have spaces available. If you want to come join Slade's family, we have a great group of class spaces available over the next few weeks. We have one slot open February 29th, as well as 3 slots in mid-March. We would love to share them with you. aviatorppg.com/training. Feel free to reach out to us. Next week, I plan to have my wife here unless something goes wrong. If something goes wrong, I'm going to call Slade. He'll fly over, and we'll just do another 3-hour show. It'll be great. We could probably talk about something specific. Kate. Oh, to where to donate, the website links that Slade mentioned before are...
So, playersfortheplanet.org. We'll get it all up.
It's coming.
Org,
not ord.
We have iammore.us.
iammore.us.
And morethanbaseball.org.
Morethanbaseball.org. Of course, you guys will be able to find us at the Aviator Foundation eventually. Our hope is to be able to donate to people like Slade who are doing some
It's
great
not
stuff.
our hope. We're going to.
We're going to do it.
Yeah.
Slade's going to join the board of the Aviator Foundation.
I
He just
hope
doesn't
so.
know it yet. So, all right, guys, thank you all so very much. Justin Brace, great to have you. Gillette, John DeJong, Tarek Trout, Kevin can fly, Ernie DeVletter, Jim CR120. Great questions, my friend Leanne. Always love seeing you as well. Craig Taylor, Danielle, love you very much. Thank you for being here. That's my wife. Christy Solana, thank you. Mark, a pleasure. Guys, we'll see you all next week. Have a great night.
See you guys.
Thanks for joining the Ask Aviator podcast. High five.
Let's do it.